So today it's all about building empowered teams. If I know what it's like, because we have now, by the grace of God, we've built a good team at Centonomy, who are now not even just only in one location, but in multiple locations now. And you're trying to figure out, how do you make sure that they are empowered to do their job well? That's important. So there's always that training that is going to be part of your planning, of your preparation. How do I empower them to do their job well? Those are trainings that are specific towards your skill set. Those ones we know you must do and continuously improve on and build on as a team, and especially as an HR professional. However, we also, and especially through this pandemic time, we have realized that it's so important to build the individual. Because if the individual is doing well, if the individual is managing their money, if the individual is managing their debt, if the individual is able to plan for their future, then their plan becomes integrated with yours as a company, and that's the kind of synergy that we're looking for. So we at Centonomy are in that business of empowering the individual, because when they are empowered, it means that it gives your team a better chance for success. That's what we're all about. And so today, when we talk about empowered teams, that's the discussion that we intend to have over the next couple of hours. So thank you for giving us your time. We've got an amazing group of speakers who are coming to share their personal experiences and also their advice on some of these areas that are really important to each one of us. And I encourage you to have just like I do, have my notebook, I have my pen next to me as always. In fact, sometimes we do some of these events sometimes they're just for me. Honestly, I want to hear from all these amazing human beings and learn from them so that I can begin to implement them within my team. And God willing, you shall be able to do the same for yourselves. So thank you for your participation. If you don't mind, I want to begin to see where you are around the world. Excellent. I can see a couple of people who are saying we're eager to learn, ready to go. If you can, just in the chat box, just let us know where you are in the world at this point, because we've become very much aware that now we're not speaking to just a local audience here in East Africa. We might be speaking to more. So if you can type in the chat box to the panelists and to the attendees as well. So there's when you're typing in the chat box, if you're here on Zoom, we've got panelists and attendees. Click on that and then just let us know where you are around the world. It's so great to have you. Thank you, Winnie. Thank you, Joy. It's good to see you just around here. Thank you, Judy. Excellent. We've got Jade as well in the KE, I can see. Excellent. Eager to learn. Wonderful. Faith. Excellent. Caroline. Good. Wonderful. Olena in the Ukraine. Welcome. If I can speak in our local language, in Kiswahili, we welcome, we would say karibu. Thank you, Olena. Excellent. Wonderful. Kia in Australia, excellent. Wonderful. To everybody who's tuning in right now, we are so grateful for your time. Loving it. Wonderful. Mary, Yvonne, Irene, excellent. Lensa, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Sometimes some of these names are a bit harder than we know. Oh, wow. Ikena in Lagos, in Nigeria, excellent. Joy, oh, wonderful, wonderful. So as we said, and especially this is important for all the speakers when we're coming to share, it's good to have a picture of where we are. Excellent. This is Rose, all the way from Uganda. Thank you so much for logging on and being with us this morning. We are excited to have you here with us. Oh, look at that. Primrose in Mombasa. Yes, Esther in Kwale. Good. We have a proper audience now and a global audience, as you can hear. West Africa, Europe, Australia, as far as Australia, I believe I saw. I think I saw that. Yep. Kia Humphreys, yes. So guys, we're speaking to an international audience, and I hope that we're ready to take this in. So starting point, let's start together. Every time people come into a Centonomy event or a Centonomy moment, we must leave with some financial information, because we as Centonomy are on a mission to shift your mindset so that you may create wealth and live abundantly. Our mission is to shift mindset so that purposeful people can create wealth and live abundantly. And when you hear the word purposeful, that means somebody who's able to log on to a session like this and say, you know what, I don't know everything, I'm going to learn something this morning. That's somebody who's purposeful. We've realized, because we've put this out to quite a few people around, and this message has reached many people, but you are the one who has chosen to come and sit in this room. So therefore, you are a purposeful person, and we want you to be able to create wealth and to live abundantly. And we've realized that those two things are not the same thing. I'm sure where you are right now, you can think of someone who is extremely wealthy but unhappy. I think of mega stars around the world who commit suicide. You would think they have the money, the fame. Why would they lose their lives? Because there was no maybe link to their purpose and clarity of that purpose in their hearts. So linking wealth creation and purpose is key. That abundant life is what we're talking about. And if you saw the videos we were doing just before this with Caroline, it's when you come into our class, it's not just about, how would I say it? It's not just about denying yourself, because many people think that budgeting is, oh, now I'm never going to eat out again. I'm never going to do anything that's fun. No, it is saying, these are the things that I want to do. This is the lifestyle that I want to live. What can I do in order to get there? So we're on a mission to shift your mindset so that you can create wealth and live abundantly. We want you to do both. So the first thing that we must do is begin to define what wealth is. Wealth, as far as we're concerned here at Centonomy, and you can write this down, wealth is the ability to live the lifestyle that you want without having to work. Now I know, I'm in an HR breakfast and we're here talking about working, but guess what? Why are people working in your organizations? Why are people coming and giving their time, their energy, and their life? It's because they want to build their own life. And so the part that they're giving to you is a part of that personal journey that they want to build enough wealth so that they don't have to work anymore. And here's one of the main ways that they don't work is a thing called retirement. So if you have built up enough wealth, by the time that you retire, when you retire, you have enough funds to sustain your life over that period of time. And most employees, that is their ultimate goal. They want to send their children to school, get a home for themselves, build a life that they want to, and be able to retire comfortably. And so when you retire, it means that you have enough assets to sustain your lifestyle when you retire. Whether retirement is at age 60 or it's at age 50 or 40, whatever it is, for you, that's an ultimate goal. So wealth is the ability to live the lifestyle that you want. One of the key factors is that for many people, they have not defined that lifestyle. I don't know about you, whether you've defined the lifestyle that you want. Have you actually sat down and done that? When we do our classes, one of the first things, the first question and the driving question that we have throughout our programs is, what do you want? Many people have never defined it for themselves. So you'll find, I don't know if this sounds familiar to you, but maybe it does. Let's see if it does. You'll find somebody say, I want to live in a nice house. I want to drive a nice car. I want to be able to go on holiday. I want to be able to relax. Okay, great, wonderful. So my first question when we do our sessions and all our trainers here is, okay, what house? Because if it's a nice house, where is that house? How much does it cost? How long will it take us to get there? And so people have a general idea. So they'll give you, that suburb or that area of the city that they'd like to live. Good. Then you ask them, how big is that house? Then they give you a number. But they had never thought about it before. And so one of the first things we do is to define what is the goal. Because when you've defined what your goal is, then you can take purposeful actions towards it. The same goes for the time that we're spending working. So we have a program at Centonomy called the Centonomy Career Hub, which is designed to accelerate your career journey. Why? Because again, many people, they work, but have no target, no goal. I'd like to be promoted. To what level? When? What's the kind of salary that you're looking for? I want more, but they've never defined it. And so one of the first things that you want to do is say, what do you want in your career? so that somebody becomes clear. You're not just joining this organization to be at the same level for the rest of your life. You're building, you're growing, and you want to become more of an asset to the organization so that you're able to build the wealth that you want. And so step by step, we show you and begin to break it down and say, hey, if that is the lifestyle that you want, I want to be a senior manager, I want to be in the C-suite, I want to be able to retire at a certain level, good, wonderful, because that goal will align with the company goals. Why? Because if I'm functioning at a higher rate because of something that's driving me personally, that function transfers to the organization. If I can see that if this company does better, I do better, then it works. And it works the opposite way as well. If I do better, the company does better. That's exactly what HR executives like yourselves, and as well as leadership members like myself, are looking for. We're looking for people whose personal goals align with the company goals, because when they are aligned, then somebody is no longer working for the organization, they're working for themselves, and that's a massive driver. So when somebody is empowered, first of all, to know what they want and how to get there, that will begin to bring the kind of results that you're looking for. So 3 tips, because I have just a couple of minutes left over. I always give these 3 tips because every one of us, even you as an HR professional, I know you have your own personal dreams and ambitions. And if you can begin to achieve those things, it'll bring the joy, purpose, happiness that will allow you to be as purposeful for the team that you're leading, the team that you're speaking on their behalf, and the team that you're trying to drive in the right direction. So we have to get you in the right place as well. So let's write this down. The 3 points as far as wealth creation is concerned that we want you to go home with. Number 1, and this is key for everybody around the world. We often forget it, but it's a key point of wealth creation. Number 1, write it down. Pay yourself first. I know it sounds simple. I know it sounds like it's a no-brainer, but imagine it's so important. Many times when we budget, we say, okay, I'm going to pay my house rent or my mortgage, then I'll pay school fees, then I'll buy food, so we plan to pay everybody else first. And then if there's anything left, we save and invest. We want to turn that round and say, your priority is saving and investing, because that is how you pay yourself first. You pay yourself by saving and investing. Saving is putting aside cash for an emergency, some money that will be available should you need it. And investing is growing your money. Do that first. And then you pay your rent, your mortgage, all those other things that come along the way, school fees and everything. Because if you pay everybody else first, often there's nothing left. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, and this one will change your life. I know so because it changed mine. Tip number 2 is track your expenses. Track your expenses. Get an app on your phone. If you'd like, we can send you a small template so that you can begin to track. But at least for 1 month, just write down every single cent, every single coin that leaves your account. Just account for it. Put it down. And after 1 month, come back and look at it. You will be shocked where your money goes. You will be surprised how much you spend on things that you didn't know you are spending on. And the final thing, and once you've tracked and you know where it's spending, now you are empowered. Remember, that's what we're talking about, being empowered. You're empowered to decide where the money should go. Often these decisions are made without your knowledge. Well, at least without your clear understanding. The last one. Number 1 was pay yourself first. Number 2, track your spending. And number 3, when it comes to your investment, it comes to putting money out, focus, number 3, write it down, focus on assets. Assets are what bring about wealth. And it is to recognize what an asset is. An asset holds its value over time. In fact, an asset will often increase in value over time. And assets often put income in your pocket. That's what you're looking for. And if you can begin to practice these 3 things, you're on your way to wealth creation. We want your teams to be empowered in the same way, empowered to be able to build wealth for themselves, because when somebody's working for themselves, the motivation is out of this world. They come to work ready because they know it's not just about the organization. It's not an outward motivation, it's inward. And that's the empowered team that we're looking for. Hey, guys, that's what we're looking for. And I know that we're going to have an excellent day today, hearing from all the various speakers who are before us. As I said, my name is Waithaka Gatumia. Those who are using hashtags, yes, please do tweet. Please do share on your social media. The hashtags are Centonomy, hashtag building empowered teams, hashtag HR webinar. That's what we're going to do. As I said, my name is Waithaka Gatumia. I'll be your moderator for today. For those who are on the Zoom platform, kindly, if you have a question for the speakers, use the Q&A section. That's where we'll be able to capture your question. If you have a comment, you can use the chat box. But if you have a specific question to the speaker, kindly use the Q&A section. That's what's going to help us to capture those questions as easy as possible. For those on social media, please use the chat box just below where the comments are, and our team will be able to transfer those questions to us here in front on the Zoom platform and help you to get the questions that you have answered. Excellent. Let's get straight into it. Our first speaker for today, I can see he is somewhere in the room. Chris Moradi. He is a transformational speaker, an author, and a business strategist. And when we're speaking today, when we're talking today about these issues, we're speaking specifically about managing change during and after a pandemic. Human capacity. How do we manage that change along the way? Chris, if I can get you to switch on your camera, I think I saw you somewhere in the panelists.
I am in here.
Hi, how are you doing? It's your video. I'm trying to get, there we go. Not quite.
The video is switched off from your end.
That's right. Let me try and see if I can help you with that. Just try it now. There we go. Excellent.
Great.
I can see you, my brother. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
I have my notebook. I have my pen. I want to know, how do I manage this change? It has been tough. It's been a journey. And I know you have some pointers to help us, especially those who are managing teams. This is your time. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you. Much appreciated. I love your energy. My goodness. I think if anyone was asleep, they're awake by now. Thank you for having me. I am enraptured and enthralled to be part of this conversation this morning. I think by the end of this pandemic, I will be ready for a career in radio, because I've been on so many webinars, speaking to people who are muted. I can't see them. So I think that makes me skilled for radio. So thank you for having me. And before I go into the gist of our conversation, allow me to share with you a story I was just reading this morning for the listener and for those who are tuned in. And the title was Improvise, Adapt, Overcome. Improvise, Adapt, Overcome. Now, a salesman was demonstrating unbreakable hair combs in a department store. He was impressing the people who stopped by to look by putting the comb through all sorts of torture and stress to prove that it was unbreakable. Finally, to impress the skeptics in the crowd, he bent the comb completely in half, and it snapped with a loud crack. Without missing a beat, he bravely held up both halves of the unbreakable comb for everyone to see and said, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is what an unbreakable comb looks like on the inside. Improvise, adapt, overcome. And as you're talking about change, this is what we are going to do. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. Now, before I get to the main subject, I want to share with the listeners 3 words that we use almost interchangeably, but I will give you a different meaning today. The words are knowledge, understanding, wisdom. Knowledge, understanding, wisdom. These three words are almost used interchangeably, but let me define them for you. Knowledge is information. What I'm giving you here today and my fellow panelists, that's information. Understanding is comprehension. It's comprehending the information given. Wisdom is application. Knowledge, information. Understanding, comprehension. Wisdom, application. It is possible to have knowledge without understanding. Let me give you an example. We just witnessed the US election, and from those of us in Kenya, for example, we could hear about electoral college, and everybody was talking about the electoral college votes. We had that information, but very few people understand it. They thought it's some universities voting somewhere because they have the information, but without the comprehension. You can also have the information and the comprehension, but not application. For example, a doctor who smokes has the information, has the comprehension, but lacks application. Of these three, the most important of all of them, the most life-changing, is wisdom, and that is application. Now I'm here to give you the information that is entirely in my court. Understanding is a collaboration. I have to give the information in a manner that you will understand, and you have to pay attention so that you can get it. Wisdom is entirely up to you. It's entirely up to you to apply what we learn. Now that that's out of the way, I will start this conversation about managing change. Actually, the title of my presentation is Improvise, Adapt, Overcome. Right. And I'm glad, Mr. Waithaka, I can see you are cheering me on. I like that. Please keep doing it because you are the only one I can see on my screen. Now, allow me to share with you a Bible text, not with the intention of converting anyone, so no pressure, but just to build a conversation, a foundation for this conversation. And the Bible text is found in the book of Genesis, chapter 8 and verse 22. And it says, as long as the earth remains, there will be seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night. Let me just read it again. As long as the earth remains, there will be seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night. In other words, life is made up of seasons. Life is indeed a series of transitions, and as long as you live, you will either be in a transition, just left one, or headed towards one. That is this thing called life. There will always be green lights, good time. Amber, transition, followed by a red light, tough times. And that is life. Right now, we should be rejoicing because we have been in the red light. And what comes after the red light? It's a green light, good time. In fact, you should be more concerned when you're in a green light because you can tell for sure that red light is down the road. And that is life. And you see, seasons guarantee change. The clothes you wear in summer are not the clothes you wear in winter. Plants that grow in summer are not the same plants that grow in winter. Seasons not only bring change, but they guarantee it. And as we have established, life is a series of seasons, which means life is a series of change. The only place you will not get change is at a vending machine. But as long as you live, change is guaranteed. With that knowledge, that change is inevitable. What ought we to do in the meantime? Because you could have the knowledge, fine, we have the knowledge. But what ought we to do in the meantime? And that's what I'm here to talk to you about. Now, there was a time when national holidays in Kenya were such a big thing. They were such a big deal. The government would pull no stops to put on a show. They often hosted the events at Nyayo Stadium. My favorite part was when the security apparatus, ranging from the army to the regular police, would march before their commander-in-chief with terrible accuracy and synchrony. But my interest was on one specific group, the firefighters, who would show up in their firefighting gear. And they were referred to as Rapid Response Unit. Rapid Response Unit. Now, I don't know if you're like me, I always wondered, why are they called Rapid Response Unit? But as I've become a change expert, I have known why. You see, a fireman's life, he spends his entire life preparing for a fire because he knows a fire will break out someday. In fact, every evening before he goes to bed, he kneels down and prays and tells God, please God, prosper me. Give me wealth. Make me successful. Essentially, what the fireman is telling God is, please God, burn them houses down. I think even people who make coffins also pray for God to expand their businesses and give them wealth. Anyway, what I ask myself is, do you think when the fire finally comes, that the fireman goes like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I don't think so. He has been waiting and preparing for the day that his fire comes. For in the fire is his success. Hence the title, Rapid Response, not rapid reaction. There's a big difference between react and respond. If you have a sick relative in hospital and the doctor calls you and tells you, my brother or sister, your loved one is reacting to medication, I think that will inspire terror. But if they say your loved one is responding to medication, I think you will have a sense of relief. So the difference between respond and react is preparation. The reason the fireman does not react to the news that there is a fire, he responds, is because he has spent his entire life preparing for that day. Like the fireman, we know that the fire of change, as we have established, will come. It's not a matter of if, but when. The only reasonable thing to do is to prepare for the change so that we can respond, not react. I am not so sure many of you responded or reacted to the onset of the pandemic. But if some of the measures I have seen in the many organizations I have worked with, in a bid to stay afloat, they have been reactionary at best, not responsive. So as we sit here and listen in, I want us to be keen to listen, to prepare, to be empowered. The whole point of being empowered is that when the time comes, you're prepared. That means you will respond and change will come. Now, it is at this time that I will introduce a second Bible verse. Again, not with the intention of trying to convert anyone. And I assure you, I will not collect any offering at the end. And you don't need to plant any seed. So relax. Luke 5:39. It says, no man also having drunk old wine straight away desires the new, for he says the old is better. If you don't have any reason to read the Bible, for example, just read it for the wisdom especially in change management. The first tells us that as long as life endures, seed time and harvest and summer and winter and heat and cold, they will never cease. There will be season, there will be change. But then comes and tells us that for someone having drunk old wine does not immediately desire the new, for he says the old is better. Now you know where resistance to change comes from. You know, for someone who has always believed in showing up to the physical office at 8, they even have a biometric register for clocking in. To tell such a person that, oh, you know, you can actually work from home and be productive, it is like trying to win the Premier League with Arsenal. The odds are against you, right? Why? Because people don't immediately accept new things. I was driving to the airport. I was being driven to the airport by an Uber driver, and he was quite chatty. And I get a lot of information from such people. And he told me that when the new police uniform, for those of you who are Kenyans, you know what I'm talking about. For when the new police uniform was introduced, he thought that it was hideous, and so did 48 million other Kenyans. They thought it was hideous. And there was all that buzz on social media saying we want the old uniform back, because people don't accept the new very, you know, not too fast. But the government had decided, and the uniform, they were going to wear the new uniform. And he was telling me, after observing them for a while, it's starting to look like the uniform is not that bad as we made it look in the beginning. You see, people don't necessarily appreciate change at the onset. But somebody once told me that what you resist will persist, but what you embrace, you begin to transcend. What you resist will persist, but what you embrace, you begin to transcend. And today I had a conversation with a psychologist, and he told me that human beings have 6 psychological needs, 6 basic psychological needs. Forget the basic needs that we talk about: food, clothing, and shelter. These are 6 psychological needs. Need number 1 is stability. We survive in stability. We desire stability. That's why Centonomy has set up a shop to make sure that you are stable after you retire, by making sure that you are financially independent, because they understand that we want stability and order in our lives. That's why we make decisions like marriage. You marry so that in the evening, you know, when you go home, there is somebody there. You are stable. We survive in stability. Can you imagine how your life would be like if you went back home in the evening and you're not sure you would find your house where you left it? It would be chaos. So need number 1 is stability. Need number 2 is instability. Sounds like an oxymoron, considering the need number 1 was stability. While we survive in stability, we grow in instability. I hope you get that. While we survive in stability and order, too much order breeds monotony and stagnation. That's why we need instability for us to grow. And now that we are talking about change, change can happen without growth, but growth can never happen without change. And we resist it. Suppose a child, after 9 months, the child refused to come out and said, I want to stay in here. Do you think that child would ever grow? They need that change to get out. And the first thing they do is they resist the change. That's why labor pains are real. You have to actually push them out of their comfort zone. And once they get out, because they continue with the resistance, they cry like nobody's business. But instability is required for growth. Now, the other four, there is love and affection, there is significance, there is growth, and there is contribution. Those are not too important for this conversation. You can look for me some other time, then I will give you the other four. But the ones I'm interested in right now is the first one, stability and instability, because we survive instability, but we grow and thrive in instability. So when change comes, it's not always a bad thing. It is not always a bad thing. Some of us, we are where we are because we embraced change at some point, however painful it was at that point in time. So I'm going to share with the HR people that are here with me. I have seen many of them. We have interacted on different forums in their different organizations. And I will share with you just, I think, 5 thoughts of how we can manage change in a time of the pandemic. And I'm not giving these pointers as the ultimate prescription. Again, you have to pick something and cut it to your own context. Don't be like this young man who went to a conference and there was a powerful speaker who was telling them that whatever you do, give 100%. Whatever you do, give 100%. And that young man was so charged. He went home and he kept repeating that message to himself that whatever you do, give 100%. And the following day, he went to donate blood and he gave 100%. Moral of the story, whatever you hear, cut it into your own context and pick that which applies to you. And that's why I said it's not the ultimate prescription, it's what has worked for me. And I believe if you apply it in the right context, it can work for you. So how do we manage change, especially at this time of the pandemic? How do we lead our people through these changes that are happening at this time? I have 5 pointers. Number 1, and the most important, put people first. Put people first. Now, this is a very easy conversation to have with HR people. It would have been a bit difficult if I was having this conversation with the police. Because when the police go to the trainings, especially in Kenya, the first lesson they are told is that raia ni adui, that the people are your enemy. That is the mindset that is inculcated in them. So then to tell them put people first, that is an acquired taste. But for HR people, I believe you are taught to love people. You can love people without leading them, but you cannot lead people without loving them. So the first thing, put people first. Why do I say that? Caught in the middle of all these changes are humans. Whether it's a technological change, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's a process change, whether it's a government policy, all these changes, the one common denominator in the center of all this change is people. And people respond and others react differently to change, but they are at the center of change. So while you are effecting the changes that are not only necessary, but they are very important to keep you afloat at this time, put people first. People, organizations don't build people. It is people who build organizations. And don't lose valuable talent based on the prevailing conditions. I have often said, don't make permanent decisions based on a temporary condition. Because guess what? The condition will pass. But the decisions you made, you will have to live with them. And as human beings, we have survived many pandemics, Spanish flu, the Ebola, Asian flu. We have survived all these pandemics and we are still going on, and we are still living. And this is not the last pandemic, I will not lie to you. Pandemics will come. But the decisions you make right now that involve your people, tomorrow you will have to live with them. So whatever decision you're making, put people first. I believe that's home. Number 2, over communicate. Over communicate. What do I mean? Now, human beings can stand uncertainty. What they can't stand is uncommunicated uncertainty. Okay, in case you didn't catch that, let me come again. Human beings can stand uncertainty. What they can't stand is uncommunicated uncertainty. I was in a banking hall somewhere, lining up and waiting for my time to be served. But then I noticed I had been there for quite some time and the queue was not moving, and nobody was telling us anything. Nobody was telling us anything. And we were so irritated and agitated, and people were complaining. But then, after we had waited for such a long time, an attendant comes and tells us that, oh, we are sorry, the systems were down. And we were wondering, you could have told us that thing an hour ago. We could have left, do other things, come back when the system is up. We were so angry. Now, you see, the same scenario, had that person come and said, ladies and gentlemen, our systems are down, kindly bear with us, we would have waited, because we understand systems can fail. Similarly, changes will happen. Salaries will be cut. Some people will have to be laid off and declared redundant. Please, communicate, communicate, communicate. When we talk, we don't fight. When you constantly communicate, you take away any ambiguity. People know exactly what is happening. And that's what the thing that the Kenyan government has done very well in this time of the pandemic. Because we have seen these press conferences, I think Mutahi Kagwe should just run for president by now, because we have seen his face for such a long time, because they kept on regular updates every day, every day, every day. So, number 1, put people first. Number 2, over communicate. Don't get tired of communicating to your people. Number 3, and one of the things that I will plead with you that we can do, be flexible. Be flexible. We are living in extraordinary times. As far as our generation is concerned, we have not experienced a pandemic at this magnitude in this generation. And it calls for us to do away with status quo and be flexible. Don't be like this young man. There was a certain young man who was sent on a trip by his mother to Nakuru from Nairobi. For those of you who are in diaspora, Nakuru is about 200 plus kilometers from Nairobi. So this young man was sent by his mother, and his mother packed some lunch for him in a lunchbox and told him, eat this when you get to Naivasha. Now, Naivasha is like the middle of the journey. Eat this when you get to Naivasha. And the boy was sent. Now, he got to Kangemi, barely 10 kilometers from Nairobi, and he asked the driver, are we in Naivasha yet? And the driver told him, no, we are not in Naivasha. After about another 10 kilometers, he was now in Limuru. He asked, are we in Naivasha? He said, the driver told him, no, we are not in Naivasha yet. When he got to Sokomjinga, he asked the same question, and the driver was angry and told him, you just keep quiet. When we get to Naivasha, I will tell you. So the boy sat back and relaxed. And they got to Naivasha, but unfortunately, the driver forgot. And he drove all the way. When they got to Gilgil, the boy, I think, was so hungry, he asked, are we in Naivasha yet? And the driver said, oh my goodness, I forgot. And you see, because he had made a lot of noise, all the passengers said, it is only fair if you take him back to Naivasha, because you told him that you will remind him. So they went back to Naivasha. When they got to Naivasha, the boy just opened his lunchbox and began eating. And he was asked, were you not alighting at Naivasha? He said, no, I was just asking because this is where I was told when I get here, I have to eat at Naivasha. Now, my friends, some of us are behaving the same way. Because we are used to eating at Naivasha, we expect now, even with this pandemic, we have to eat at Naivasha. People have to come to work at 8 to 5, just as they are used to. No, my friends. Hey, right now, we have to be flexible with our policies. We have to be flexible with how we supervise people. We have to be flexible with how we do things. Why? We are not living in ordinary times, and extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. Number one, put people first. Number two, over communicate and communicate judiciously. It's not just about communicating. I used to watch the former US President Donald Trump while he was giving his pressers. He was actually communicating, but he was not doing it judiciously. So communicate, communicate, communicate. Number three, be flexible. Number four, be authentic. Always tell the truth. Uncertainty is okay. Do not pretend that you have all the answers. That will make you God. But because you are just a mortal like everybody else, it's okay to tell people that you are not sure, but keep it real. When people are going to lose their jobs, don't give them hopes that are not, solid. You have to be real. While you have to remain positive and have a positive outlook, it's very important to have a positive attitude at this time. Because if you have a negative attitude, you will soon realize that even rock bottom has a basement. This is the time that you have to keep a positive attitude, but be authentic. Don't give false hopes. Number one, put people first. Number two, communicate, communicate, communicate. Number three, be flexible. Number four, be authentic. Tell the truth. Last, but certainly not the least, collaborate. What do I mean? The people you're not trying to take animals through a change. It is people with their own ambitions, aspirations, and people who have their own fears. Collaborating means bring them to the table. Bring them to the table. And once you bring them to the table, hear them out. So that whenever you make decisions, they also know that we have been considered. The most, for one of the things I didn't tell you as I was doing my introduction is that I am a husband of at least one wife. And one of the things that I have learned, sometimes she just wants me to listen to her, not to provide a solution. Men, we like to fix things. She just wants me to listen to her, and I have become very good at it. Sometimes even when she wants solutions, I listen so well that she thinks she already has a solution even before I give any. Similarly, our employees, sometimes all they need to do is to be heard. Listen to their fears, listen to their aspirations before you can then tell them, follow me. Number one, put people first. Number two, communicate, 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 and do it judiciously. Number three, be flexible. Number four, be authentic. And last but not least, collaborate. Bring others to the party. And with that, I'll take it back to Mr. Waithaka to take it from there.
Chris, you should see what people are saying online. Everyone was just saying this is a hero online on YouTube. That Naivasha story just nailed it. I mean, sometimes we do the same thing over and over and expect a different response, a different plan. Flora here is saying uncommunicated uncertainty is time wasting. And I found that to be extremely, extremely powerful. Mina is saying it's very insightful. Thank you so much, Chris. It's time for Q&A. So I'm not seeing any questions that have come through here. If you had put your question in the chat box, we can't see it. So use the Q&A section so that we can just quickly capture a few points from Chris before he leaves us. I think I saw one that was written here somewhere in the Oh, there was someone here. That was Susan who was saying, ouch. Let me just say, I don't stand with Chris on his point on the Arsenal team. For all Arsenal fans, Centonomy is fully behind you and supports you. That one was just
happens to be. I happen to be an Arsenal fan myself.
So that was out of pressure that was coming in your life. But from what you have seen in dealing yourself, that idea of the ability to respond rather than to react, what kind of actions can teams, especially leadership teams, take in order to be able to respond to crises? What advice would you give leadership teams in preparation to respond to crises rather than react?
Again, as I mentioned, when I was giving the example of the fireman is always preparing for a fire. Okay, the whole point is to be prepared. Before you go for an exam, for example, you have been through a whole semester of education. You have been learning. The exam is only coming to test how well you have been prepared. If you wasted all your time doing funny things during the semester, certainly you will fail during the exam because you are not well prepared. So for the sake of pandemic, we cannot say that we can preempt what will happen in the future, for nobody knows the future. What we can do today is prepare, and mostly it's psychological preparation. Psychological preparation to know that something could happen that we have not foreseen. A change could happen that will append all the things that we believe in. If we then empower ourselves before, keep learning. I have also often said, keep learning, keep learning, keep learning. The best way to prepare for the future is to keep learning. Because when you learn, you're able to see things from so many perspectives. And when the changes come, you are able to lead people through that change, because that's what leadership is all about. So as I said, as a fireman, every day he goes to the train station, prepares, does the drill, and that's exactly what we do during drills in the offices. When we have a fire drill, we simulate the situation so that when the situation will finally arrive or arise, we will respond to it. We will not react, because reaction always has a negative connotation. So the point is, be a learning organization. Don't be too complacent. Don't be too comfortable. Be a learning organization, because it is that learning that will help you when the exam finally comes.
Wow. Helen is asking, you mentioned something. Just repeat that last bit about bringing people to the party. There was something that you mentioned that she missed out there. Although let me just mention this to everybody. This session is being recorded and will be available on our social media. So in case you want to just come back and listen to Chris's presentation again, you can check us out on the Centonomy YouTube channel. Also, you can check out Centonomy on Facebook, and this will be available later. If you missed something, but for Helen's sake, she wants it now, very quickly.
The last point was collaborate.
Yes, yes, yes.
You are leading people through a change.
Yes.
They are involved in the change. Bring them to the table. Be consultative. And that's the whole point about bringing people to the party, because you're not going alone. Yes, so bring them to the table.
Excellent. The what was the question here? Chris was disagreeing with you. Maybe you can clarify a little bit. You mentioned, I think, sorry, this is Muturi. Sorry, you're saying maybe you mentioned that companies don't build employees, but he's fighting. He's in people development, and he's saying even us, we build our teams. Maybe you can clarify that for Muturi's sake.
Let me ask you, who built the other? Did Bezos build Amazon, or did Amazon build Bezos? I believe Bezos built Amazon. Did Microsoft build Bill Gates, or did Bill Gates build Microsoft? I think it's the other way around. Okay. Of course, when we come to the employment, it's a mutual agreement where I have to give this for this to happen. But here is the thing: if you have unmotivated employees, if you have employees who are always fearing for their future, they become very unproductive, and they will be even toxic to your customers. And before long, you will start losing those customers because of your employees, not because of your organization, but because of your employees. And before long, if you lose enough customers, you will have no organization. So people actually build organizations.
Excellent. Here in the Q&A, well done for putting that in the right place. I'm having to search through the comments. If you have a specific question, please write in the Q&A section. But for those on social media, you can write in the chat box. Our team will catch those ones real quick. What strategies would you recommend when communicating redundancy to employees? What strategies would you recommend?
One of the things I have said, remember at the end of the day, you're dealing with human beings. Human beings who have emotions and feelings. They have fears and aspirations. I have always used the golden rule, do unto others what would like them do unto you. As you communicate redundancy, do it in a humane manner. And sometimes it's important to bring in an expert to do that. I'll tell you something that hurt me, for example. There's a certain hospital where a boy had an accident and he broke his spine. He became totally paralyzed and he could not even breathe without the oxygen, without the ventilator. And he was gonna die if that thing was taken off. And the doctor came and told him he was an Italian, but who had learned Swahili. So he may have been thinking he's polite, but he was not. He would come and tell the boy, utakufa. We are sure, tuko na uhakika utakufa. You will die. We are sure you will die. Now, the boy was going to die, yes. But the way he communicated it, even for the family, it was depressing. He could have done it in a better way. So sometimes it's also good to bring in experts for such conversations. But bottom line, as you're putting people first, remember, they are human beings with feelings. And the situation might change, you might need them back. If you do not do it well at that point in time, you may lose talent that you not get back. So communicate as you would like it communicated unto yourself.
Mm-hmm. And I think, Chris, it also fits in with what you mentioned earlier. If you over-communicate, then people can begin to prepare themselves. Like if you're able to say, if you can say, look, where we are going, this is how things look, so we don't know. So they begin to prepare themselves, so it's not that surprise suddenly. We talk about this in the Centonomy Staff Accelerator, where we begin to talk about the leadership team. And one of the issues with leadership is that you're frustrated with an employee, but you never communicate that you're frustrated with them. During appraisals, you just say they've done a good job, but maybe the criteria for the appraisals, maybe they have done well, but there are other criteria which maybe they're not doing well and you never communicated. So the day that frustration boils over, they are surprised because for as long as you've been working together, you have never said there's a problem. But if somebody has been communicated to over and over and over again that, hey, maybe there's an issue, can we work on this? Can we improve in this area? We have not seen that improvement. If now you're talking redundancy, that person is prepared. In fact, I think it's a book by Jack Welch who talks about this idea when dealing with people. And he just says, when somebody knows where they are, it's called a process called differentiation. I know it's controversial, but what it means, you've communicated, you're not doing well. By the time somebody has received that redundancy, even they themselves have understood. The best way for somebody to leave your organization is for them to fire themselves. You know, they have understood, look, we have not got it. And that comes across with what Chris mentioned earlier about over communication. One last one, quick one. Would it be proper to ask an interview panelist what your budget is for a particular role? This is interesting. That's an interesting perspective. I think it should only be fair if HR can answer that, you know.
Yeah, even before the HR answers that, there's one thing I've always believed in: the value I bring to the table, not your budget.
Yes.
The value I bring to the table. Here's the thing. As a consultant, having worked with many organizations, there's one constant thing. No organization ever has budget. So whenever you go to a conversation, no, you are conversing with people who never have budget. Even the most profitable companies in Sub-Saharan Africa, when you're having these conversations, they will tell you we don't have budget. What I bring to the table is my value. And I put a price tag on my value. I don't let other people determine what my value is. So don't go asking people for what is your budget. If you are asking that, then it means you are not sure about the value you are bringing to the table. And that way you are willing to compromise to fit into their budget. Don't ever fit into their budget. I walk away from deals when I feel that they are not meeting my value. But once I get to that table and the value I bring, they will feel like I undercharged them. So know your value. And when you are valuable enough, you never have to argue about budget. I don't think anyone goes to buy a Range Rover and they are told 18 million and they start saying, hey, I only had 700,000. Yes, you'd have looked for a Pro Box. So know your value.
My brother, you have done an excellent job. Let me end with a comment here from Valerie Kemboy. She's saying, this facilitator is great. He needs more time to speak and educate. Thank you, Centonomy. I agree with you, Valerie. I've enjoyed your speech. Chris, the points, I've written them down here. They're with me. I've got them, your 5 points, even the needs that you described, and also the beginning about improvise, adapt, overcome. That was excellent. God bless you. If you can answer some of the questions in the Q&A, we'd appreciate that. Have a wonderful, wonderful morning. We appreciate you. Thanks, Chris.
I'll stay on a little longer just to pick in the questions, then I might answer them. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. All right, all right. So now I just wanted to let you know, if you have any more questions, yes, you can still leave them there in the Q&A session or in the chat box, on the comments. If you're on social media, thank you. I'm trying to keep track of all of those. It has been so great to listen to this. Let me just tell you guys a little bit about some of the programs that we run here at Centronomy that can be extremely of use to your teams specifically. Oops, what has happened here? Whoopsie. Excuse me, sorry, I'm just trying to get the presentation up back again, and it has not worked yet. Let me see if it will work this time. There we go. So one of the main programs that we run, and we've seen that it really empowers your team, is the personal financial management program that we run. It begins to help people to realize how their work with your organization is building their personal finance and their wealth creation as they grow as well. This is what we're looking at, trying to help them to also understand the balance between the wealth creation plan they have and the lifestyle expenses that they're dealing with. How do you manage that? Because there's a lot of peer pressure when it comes to lifestyle issues. And you find people making choices with their finances, not based on wisdom or their own personal goals, but on trying to assist and to help, to look good to others, keeping up with the Joneses especially. We also help them in trying to understand how to track their expenses and create a savings culture, an investment culture that will help them grow. One of the major issues that we've dealt with in organizations is this idea of debt. How do you track your debt? How do you get out of bad debt? And how do you use debt for growth? Because especially across Africa, we've got a unique area in which debt is extremely expensive. So for those of you who are outside Africa, just to give you an example, on a mortgage here, many times I think we talked in Nigeria as well, and also here in Kenya, you're talking of a mortgage of between 14 and 18%. So on such a mortgage, the cost is really high. You can often pay more in interest than you pay for the value of the house. And so what choices do people have, especially for home ownership? And what kind of choices can they use with the debt that they're able to access? So we deal with that. We also have a huge problem with mobile debt, because now we're able to borrow on our debts, on our phones, and using credit cards, where we are similar to the credit card issues that we have in the Western world. But here it's on your mobile phone. And so we're finding a lot of people getting caught up in that. How do we break that cycle? How do we get out of it? And that's what we're building here. We also have the issue about now creating a goal, a target for your personal finance, so that as you're working, you're using the earnings that you're getting from your job to build your personal finance. Also recognizing, as Chris mentioned, if I become more valuable to my organization, they'll pay me more. I'll get a promotion, or I'll get a raise, or I'll get a new role that will put more money in my pocket that will allow me to go closer and closer to my goals. As we said, you're aligning your personal goals with the company and organizational goals. So we offer this to all organizations. We do short talks We do half-day training, and we also do full-day training, which allows people to be able to get into this on a longer basis. And if there's a specific area of concern, and this we often get from organizations, Waithaka and your Centonomy team, please come and speak to us about debt. Give us a deep dive into how to manage debt. Our employees are dealing with debt issues. Come and talk about that. We are able to do deep dive sessions in your point of need as an organization. Because sometimes you have to deal with that pain point immediately. The rest of the stuff we will deal with later. But that pain point, you're saying, Waithaka, come and deal with us, at Centonomy, come and deal with us on this issue of lifestyle. We are seeing our employees, they're just living out of control. Can you come and help them so that they can see how to put their passion into action over time? That's one of the programs that we run. I'll be telling you a little bit more about the other programs as we go. But within your organizations, empower them for financial growth. If they feel empowered, they will align that goal with their work in your organization, and you'll see greater productivity. That's what we have seen overall, because there's less stress, especially when you have dealt with debt, and also you have a target, a goal for what you want to achieve. We have seen this in the organizations that we've dealt with, where we're finding that more than 75% of all who come through our programs are able to speak about clearing their debt much faster and feeling less stressed about their debt. And somebody who's less stressed works even better. Others have said, this is now, I think, over 90% have increased their savings capacity, which means they feel more stable. Remember, we talked about stability. That was what Chris was talking about. And over now, as far as we're concerned, as close to 100% feel better prepared for their financial life when they come through our program. So I hope you consider this for your teams as we go forward. Our next speaker, Juliet, I hope you are in the room. I think I saw you in the panelists group. Let me just get that on the screen. Where is this? Yes, Juliet is going to be coming to speak to us. She's a founder and director of Alternate Doors Consulting. And here we're going to be talking about this issue of managing remote staff towards excellence, especially how we're dealing with this overall. When you talk about it from this perspective, how do we deal with that? It's really interesting to add. Juliet, if you're there, you can switch on your microphone. I think I saw you there, and you'll be able to switch on your camera in just a second. I'm giving you the ability to do that. We've had you speak. There we go. Excellent. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. I hope you can be able to hear me clearly.
I now can hear you clearly. I want to get you on the screen so everybody else can as well. This issue has been so interesting as we've made transitions, but I loved it because Chris has already started touching on this matter. We are managing people in a completely different environment now. We've heard major companies, I think like Twitter, I think made a very early call where they said coming to the office is no longer, is a global company, coming to the office is no longer going to be a major part of what we're doing. We're looking for productivity wherever you are. So this is a changing landscape and we need help with that. Juliet, thank you for being here with us. We're looking forward to hearing from you.
Okay. So thank you, Waithaka, and thank you, Chris, for that presentation. So do I share my screen now, or
you can? Yes, sure.
Okay. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible to everyone now. Okay, sawa, thank you. I can see we have people from all over the world, so I'll try to be as global as possible and not as Kenyan as possible. So thank you everyone for joining in. My name is Juliet, as you've heard, and this is actually managing remote teams. It's something that we have been managing since last year in March, where all the confusion started. And I think right now it has become the norm. So that is me. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. And this is a small bio about myself. So for me, I'm a human resource consultant. I manage Alternate Doors Consulting, which is a human resource company. I'm a business owner. We've been in the industry for 8 years. And personally, right now, currently, I'm really trying to be healthy. Okay. So we can start. Yesterday I put up a poll in terms of whether people are still working from home or they are working from the office. And of course, there's challenges in both areas. So most people, I think we are all balanced. So in terms of, are we still working from home? So most companies, as you can see, most people are working from home. And 42% are working from home. I think we got about 206 votes, and 32% are still, have gone back to the office fully, and some have a balanced schedule. So that means they come to the office a few days and they go, they work from home a few days as well. Okay, so what is a remote worker? So before 2020, I think a remote employee was defined as somebody who's working not necessarily at home, but working from a different location. So we are all not in one office setting. So it can be we are in different time zones. But in the current context, I think we are referring to people who are currently working from home. So how do you manage such people? So I think the question is, I think I'm talking to HR people. I don't know whether I should be intimidated or not, because I know they know everything I know. So the first thing is, how effectively do you manage those remote teams? And how do you ensure that they are working on their assignment tasks perfectly? And how do you motivate them for better performance? Because if you're not seeing, I think traditionally, especially in context in terms of, let me not say Africa, I'll just say Kenya. If you're not in the office and I'm not seeing you in the office, then I don't equate that as you're performing. So I think as HR people, we are supposed to maybe track people coming in. That's why we have biometric systems. If people are constantly late, we write warning letters. I'm sure that now has reduced in terms of writing lateness warning letters. So I think the key challenge is trust. So if as teams or as managers or as HR people, we don't trust our teams, then we cannot even trust them to work effectively remotely. So if you look at this chart, if I know somebody personally, I think the red line shows trust. There's distrust, and there's, as in, I'm not really sure. I'm imbalanced. Like I'm not quite sure. So we tend to trust people that we've already related with, like family, classmates. And if I really don't trust you well, like a colleague, if I've worked with you for a while, yes, I would trust you. But if you're just, we're just trying to get to know each other and there's no constant collaboration, then as in there's a lot of distrust between people who don't know each other well. So as you can see, if my classmate, we can tweet, we can WhatsApp, family, we talk at night. So I think the face-to-face interactions encourage better trust. And sometimes if you look at nonverbal cues, for example, like nonverbal cues also help us to build trust. So if you look at the body language, the voice of a person, but now when you're working remotely, it's very hard to judge such cues. So trust cannot be built as easily. And then I don't know whether you have this problem. I think most of the companies I deal with is in terms of somebody writes an email to a manager and the email is not responded to. You start now concluding this person is not working, performance, but it's just an email. Maybe this person is attending to a customer, maybe you should just give it time. But if this person was in the office and they took time to respond, you'd not have any issue because you can see them there. Yeah, so trust, I think as HR people, what is crucial for us to make sure, we are successful in terms of managing remote teams is building trust. So we have to make sure within our team, we build the trust.
Juliet, so that we can trust you even more, we want to see you a bit better. If you can just lower your camera a little bit.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Now we can see you. Thank you.
So let's go through some commandment in terms of managing remote teams. So the first commandment is let's encourage transparency. So in some companies, even when we're in the office, we were not quite clear in terms of what is our KPIs, what time do we come to the office? Like sometimes when things are not clear, then things now start becoming an issue. So for example, if you have remote teams working from home, make sure you've set the working hours. So if your working hours are from 7 to 4, 8 to 5, make sure you've set that. In terms of availability, make sure you tell them, please make sure you're available on your computer between 7 to 4. Because sometimes what people used to do, I think I've also been a culprit in that. Like I'm working remotely, but I've gone to the supermarket. So when somebody calls me, I now to take my phone, like I join Zoom, and then it becomes very distracting. So if your business does not want to deal with such issues, you have to be clear. You have to tell them between this time, please don't go and do your errands. Make sure you are always available in case we need to do a Zoom call. And then also, just be clear in terms of the communication system. I think one of the things that I've heard from most of my clients and most of the HR people is that there's a lot of communication breakdown. So you call somebody or you've already scheduled a meeting, and then now they start picking their calls while they are in the supermarket, they're in the public transport means, in the matatu, and then they're calling me, no, I can't hear you, I'm in a matatu. I think that is the biggest excuse I've heard from most of my clients. So you have to make sure, like you just make sure this is in terms of communication, this is what we expect from you. Meetings should be timely. Another excuse is there's no electricity, or there's no, what is it called? There's no electricity. My Wi-Fi is unstable. So those are the things that I usually, so in some companies, they've set this transparency very clear. So when you wake up and there's no electricity, please go to somewhere where there's electricity, or go to the office, or go to a quiet coffee shop. So depending now on, you're an adult, so just make sure you have, you've set the necessary parameters. So you have a backup plan, 1, 2, 3. And then of course, have deadlines as well, schedule meetings. How often should they respond to email, and set clear key performance indicators. I think we are dead set in terms of physical presence instead of focusing more on key outcomes. So also allow your team members to get involved in all aspects of the business. If your business is in recovery mode, make sure that is clear to everyone. And they should know, I think it was mentioned, if somebody, if the business is not doing well, all employees should know, so that they know there's a chance of us being declared redundant. So I think it should be very clear if the company is in recovery mode, if the company is not doing well, and you should set clear goals and have a clear focus. And then number 2, set boundaries. So for example, people who are working from home, I can wake up at 3 or 4, maybe go and run, and then go into the office, then start doing my work. Then you start, sometimes what I've heard is from employees is you receive an email at 4 a.m. from your supervisor, reply ASAP, ASAP. When you hear ASAP, you start becoming worried because it is ASAP. So I think just set those clear boundaries. If the working hours are 7 to maybe 8 to 5 or 7 to 4, maybe if you send an email, just make sure if you send an email at 4, maybe just expect an email at 7. So don't set unclear boundaries, because also the employees need to have their own personal time. And yeah. And then practice constant communication. I think I like that point Chris highlighted, is over communicate. So make sure with teams, what I've noticed is there's no clear structure in terms of communication. So what I've seen with successful teams, the clients that I'm handling, there's usually a status meeting every day. So the management team will do a status meeting, and the supervisor will also do a status meeting with their team members to just know what exactly are we doing today, or where are we on this. So instead of you constantly calling, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done that? It's actually very annoying even to you as the supervisor. It's actually very discouraging for you to keep on micromanaging teams. So make sure you establish like a daily structured daily. So if it's a call, make sure if the call is at 8, we do calls at 8, and this is how we collaborate. If somebody is not able to make it, maybe they have a meeting, they can just send a text and say, sorry, I cannot make it today, I'm in a meeting, this is my update for today. So make sure that is very clear instead of doing the micromanagement. And then, of course, use and provide the right tools. I had put use, then I just thought about it, and some companies don't provide. So you expect me to have reliable internet, but you have not provided it. So I will use the internet that I can use, I can afford. So the company, especially if my job is high touch business where I need to constantly communicate, I think provision of tools is very important. And then apart from now, the internet, having a computer, also the tracking tools are important, because sometimes we throw away objectivity. For example, if somebody, people have different working styles. So if somebody is not as responsive as they should be or as you should expect, but you haven't set the clear KPIs which are really tracked, and somebody is able to tell whether they are really delivering or not. So just make sure you have transparency tools as well to track on their work and on their deliverables. And then encourage better relationships. I think I started with the item on trust. So trust is very important with remote teams, actually with any team or in any relationship. Trust is very important. So make sure you encourage better relationships within the team. I know some of the teams that are currently working remotely have worked together before, but there are some who are also joining in. So make sure the employees, and even because now they've been away from each other for, we're almost clocking 1 year now. So I think it's better to have, team building. So the meetings you can have, instead of having the structured core meetings of the business and everything, you can also have something around team buildings. So maybe you can say on Friday at 4, we'll have a team, activity. It can even be 10 minutes. So you can just say, let's just share what we ate today. Let's share what we are doing now. Like take a picture and send to our group. So encourage such activities so people can get to know each other. And sometimes what I've seen with us HR managers, we've been told to do this team building, we've done it, and then we force all employees to do it because it's part of our KPI. 10 people attended team building. So it's part of our KPI, but don't force. Like I've seen so many videos of Jerusalem challenge, but I don't know, some people, were they forced? I don't know. So sometimes don't force, just encourage people to join in the team buildings. Eventually you'll find people actually are recommending some team building games to do. But if you force it, now it becomes, like a task, like another job we have to do. Then make sure you give feedback. Feedback is very important. If you've set clear goals, set clear KPIs, you provided the proper tracking tools, and somebody is lagging behind. So make sure you just address it immediately. So if it's in a month, let's say in a month, this month, you can do the one-on-one session as HR with that person who is like not really performing. And then you can just tell them, we've noticed this and that, please check in. Make sure you increase your productivity, or we might be forced to do this and that. So you have to be very clear and give feedback. Don't just wait until maybe after 1 year and then you say, we are firing you because of this. Look at your chart here, we tracked you, you never did this. So make sure the communication is constant. I think that one is not new in HR. I think it's in many HR books, many blogs. I think we all know. We just need to now start implementing it. And then giving feedback doesn't mean to be negative. You can also give positive feedback. So if the team member is doing well, you can even now do, a one-on-one session. If the team is doing well, you can recognize them publicly as well. So, and make sure, I think one of my clients really made it clear to me, because their whole team is working remotely. So even for me as their HR, in-house HR consultant, I'm also working remotely. So to them, focus is on outcomes, not activity. So you focus on outcomes, not activity, because now people are forced to, are you on your computer at 5? So you call them at 10, at 11, are you on your computer, just to make sure they're there and you're not, your business is not losing money. So just focus on outcomes. And I think that's the future. People are going to focus more on outcomes and not activity. And then, of course, say thank you and appreciate. I think that we always forget to do that as, as business owners, sometimes we forget. HR managers, maybe we are tied down in our day-to-day activities, we're doing recruitments, and we forget to say thank you, even if it's a small thing. You know, sometimes you can be doing something else, then a team member came to you and say, this Friday, I'm the one who's going to host the team building. Just send a thank you note, thank you, or a text, just say thank you. And then the other times, after the feedback session or the appraisal session, you can now just say thank you to the team, give some appreciation cards. It can even be, take your 2 days off, take 2 days off because we appreciate, take time. You met the deadlines for this client, because sometimes you even end up working at midnight or 2 a.m. So just appreciate, then finally, have a return to the office formula. It can be dangerous, that's why I've put a formula there. It can be good, it can be bad. What I've seen the most successful, remember we are dealing with human beings. So in March, it was very drastic. I think you between March and March, April, May, within those 21 days, 3 months, people were still getting used to working from home. So I'm sure there were so many issues coming in. But after that, things went a bit smoothly and became the norm. But now we want people now to return to the office. So you cannot now do the same thing, do it immediately, because it will bring issues as well. So the best thing to go about this is try it in bits and pieces. So if it's your sales team, I've had a lot of complaints, sales team are not performing when they're working from home. So they're expected to work in the office. So what you can do, you can schedule. Monday, we'll do emails, Tuesday, we'll do this. And then on Thursday or Friday, you come to the office and then we do a status meeting. So like you start slowly, and then 2 days they come to the office, 3 days. But there are some jobs like software developers, they don't really need to come. And to be honest with you, I've found software developers, people who work in in the creative industry, they're the ones who are the most efficient when working from home. So don't force such people to come to the office unless it's necessary for a meeting or a client visit. So have a nice formula. So at least because we are looking at, if this now, the trend continues, maybe we'll be back to the office fully or not, maybe in 2022 or 2023. So just have a nice formula for returning to the office. So this is a bit about us. And then these are the top reasons why some people like working remotely. I think you all know, to save money, have time with family, to be more productive. So those are the some of the reasons. I think most of the reasons I've had is to be with the family and to save money. Yeah, because now in Nairobi, there's so much traffic. Because before COVID, I remember I used to leave my house at 7 or 8 and still make it to the office on time. Now I have to leave at 5:45. Like if you just delay 10 minutes, you are done for. So at least it looks like people, we are getting back to the office, but people liked, working from home for such reasons. Yes, so back to you, Waithaka. I hope I did not over-summarize, but I was just sharing my experiences.
Let me tell you, those are powerful, and the responses have been excellent. And the questions are coming fast and furious. We've got, this is Dan Rono. He's on Facebook. And Dan Rono is, first of all, just to say thank you, Juliet. Thank you for sharing it. It was concise. I love that you used 10 commandments that we can think about that can help us to manage this. And the questions are coming fast and furious. For those who are in the Zoom platform, kindly use the Q&A section. It's easier to track your questions and we'll be able to pick them up as we go. Also, a big thank you to, I think I saw it. No, I'll come back to that later. This is from Rono, Dan Rono on Facebook. He's asking, Juliet, can broken trust with colleagues be rebuilt, especially after a repeat of the same mistakes? How do we rebuild? Can it be rebuilt? Possible?
Yes, trust can be rebuilt. It depends on both ends. So if somebody, you have to be able to accept criticism and accept, the other person also has to accept that this person did wrong and they are willing to improve as well. So if somebody, let's say they did not meet a deadline for some reason or the other, I remember the other slide I had put in terms of setting boundaries is we also have to exhibit empathy. So maybe there's something that happened, but if it's something that is consistent and feedback has been given, sometimes there's so much you can do. I mean, we just have to learn to let go. So you can just let go. If it's a consistent issue, but if it's something that has been done one or twice and you've been able to talk about it, so it's up to now the HR person or the manager to make sure the activities or there are sessions whereby the two people can build trust, or the person and the team can build trust back.
Here is something that I know so many leaders in organizations are concerned about, the legal aspect of certain issues. So this is Rita. Rita is asking, what are the legal implications, if any, for asking staff members to report to the office during the pandemic time while everyone else is working from home? For instance, if they have to meet clients, look, we are in that same space. What is the legal implication of that?
Okay, legally, you have to look at the contract. So the contract said, this is your job description. So during the pandemic, the company should provide the necessary measures where now the employees are not, it doesn't become a risk. So for example, have they been given a car that is, is properly sanitized or ready to go for the meeting? And then when you go to the client, also make sure the client has put the necessary measures. So when they're coming, of course, it's part of their job description, but you have to discuss with them and tell them that, we've put the necessary measures. Please, if there's anything that you feel uncomfortable when you go for this meeting, tell us, and then we will improve as you go for the other meetings. Yeah.
I think if I can comment on that as well, Juliet, I think one of the things is also to empower your staff members to know their rights. I think in Africa, one of the problems we have is people don't know their rights and don't know how to speak up for themselves. So as HR professionals, please empower your staff members to ask for their rights. I'll give you an example. Some of the companies that we train, when we go into the company right now, we're telling our trainers, it is your right to request that everybody have a mask on during the training. And we're just very clear about it, because now it's not just about you, it's also about your family and your colleagues. The fact that you're able to ask, please kindly, for the time that I'm here, have your mask on, have the windows open, so that when we are training, there is a safe environment for everybody. After that, we hope that you keep the guidelines, but while we are here, let's do that. Thank you for that, Juliet. I just wanted to add a little bit. Empower your employees to ask for what is right. Many times we can't do that. Here's Elizabeth. She's asking, being in real estate organizations, the site managers have not been provided, for instance, with laptops. How do you hold them accountable that they're doing what they ought to?
So in instances where, in some professions where you're not used to using technology, tools don't, when I say tools, it doesn't have to be technology based. So if it's a site supervisor, I'm sure there's a physical file they have where they fill. So it's now for you as the admin person, maybe to make sure you tell them every Wednesday or every Tuesday, I'll be coming and we will be discussing your file together. Make sure you finish filling in your activities for the week. So you just have to, the tools don't necessarily have to be a laptop per se or technology based. It can be a file, there's a template, this is how you feel, and this is, these are the tracking days that I will be coming and we'll be having a meeting.
Yeah, that's powerful. Felix is saying, at times there are no boundaries. I know you mentioned it in your talk, but I think we need some help on this, Juliet. Sometimes there are no boundaries. Working from home remotely, people don't respect your breaks, like lunch hour, even after 5. What do we do? Because remember, I can hear Felix speaking as an employee, But I hear him speaking as an HR professional, talking to line managers and trying to organize them. How do we help that?
Yeah. And the employees themselves, as HR people don't respect your boundaries. And then what I've seen with us, with the way HR people are supposed to be, you
Yes.
do what I say. So somebody will call you at 11 p.m. Like, I have this issue. If you don't reply by 4, then it becomes HR is not responsive to employees' issues.
Yeah.
I understand that completely. In terms of boundaries, I think it has to be set from the beginning. That's why I was saying, in terms of having that transparency. So if you as HR have noticed the boundaries are being crossed, you can have a meeting and then just say, this is a meeting, a transparency meeting. Don't mention any names or don't point any fingers. Just say, this is a transparency meeting. We are working from home. Let's just discuss the things that we would want, happen. So one of them could be boundaries. You say, please, let's respect each other. We start working at 8, we finish at 5, there's lunchtime hour. And then everyone now agrees. Of course, there's some people who will move away from the boundary. But sometimes when somebody sends you a text or calls you during your lunch hour, you can just send them a text and tell them, I'm having lunch. Let me call you at 2 o'clock and then we can discuss. So you don't have to be rude about it. Just maybe acknowledge and then set the boundaries again.
Yeah. It's tough. It's dealing with human beings, and we are always going to be. I think when people are empowered to know their rights and also able to speak their mind, we struggle with that, as we said. And I've seen it many times across the African continent where we're sharing. People being able to stand up and say, you know what, I was on lunch hour, now I'm back. How can I help you? And to know that it's your right at that point. Lynette is asking, hi, Juliet. Thanks for the powerful presentation. My question is, sometimes employees work overtime while working from home. How can an organization measure and compensate this?
Okay. I think for overtime, this is something I deal with every day, even not during this time, even before. So the question is, you said working hours is 8 to 5. Then I leave the office at 9. So are you going to pay me for overtime? So as you do that transparency meeting as well, that one has to be clear. Because if you are a fully salaried employee, of course, there's no overtime. So what you can offer, maybe you can offer some sort of a small allowance if it's something that has, because it doesn't occur every day. It occurs, let's say, when there's a deadline or something. That's why I was pushing the agenda of appreciate. If you appreciate me, I'll feel appreciated and I won't even ask for that overtime. But if you keep on nudging me, because I know my time is 5 p.m., but I'm continuing to work until 9. So if you don't show me that respect and appreciation, I'll just say, no, this is past my working hours, or we just push, I want overtime. So it's how you relate with the team, as well as you as a manager and a supervisor.
Wow. So this is Lenash. Thank you so much. Great insights. And you should see the comments. I hope you'll take some time afterwards to see the appreciation that you are receiving for the work that you have done. Faith is saying, very insightful, Juliet. I've learned a lot and you should see more going on. Lena is saying, you talked about leaders communicating the organization's mission and values. How do you do that? Is it a town hall? How best can you do that?
So for such meetings, I think even before COVID, we used to have these sessions. We'll have a strategy session. We take the team through our vision for the next maybe 2-5 years. So it's the same activity you can plan. So it can be a one-day session where you can even call the team members now who are working from home, tell them, let's meet in a nice hotel, and then you set clear boundaries, do a recovery plan and vision, have the clear vision and values, and communicate to your team members. It doesn't have to be something elaborate or you call in a consultant to do that for you. I think as HR people, as business owners and managers, we can guide each other on how to do it, and then it can easily be communicated to the team members.
So the question that is coming in now, actually it's a comment. This is from Agnes Musau. This is on YouTube. I was just trying to find that. It's saying that it is true people are ignorant of their rights for themselves and for others. The thing is to recognize and respect all parties, very key. Question from this is Otieno. I'm trying to pronounce your first name, Fortunatus, saying, what happens if I get injured at home during work hours? I know this is sorry, I don't mean to be making it light of it. It just struck me, my funny bone a little bit. Does WIBA apply? Because I think there might be some activities that you're doing from home. I know I get animated in my chair if I fall over here while I'm speaking to you. Does that WIBA cover that?
I don't want to be, I'm not an expert on that. And that's, I think it should be discussed. Maybe I mean, I'll ask somebody from the insurance. If I'm working in a company site, not the office per se, but I'm in construction or something, because I can't, if I'm working in construction or building something, I cannot do that at home. So that one, of course, will be covered by WIBA. But if I'm at home, and let's say, for example, it's not the fault of the company, because the company has provided, unless now they conduct an awareness training to you and tell you, Waithaka, stop being animated because you'll fall down. So for us as a business, we've done our part. But, and then, so you become negligent. So that's not up to the company to cover that for you. Yeah.
Hey, to my HR team, I will relax. I will sit a bit better during such sessions and not get too animated. I think that is the questions that I could get. Joanne, you wanted to get in as well? I can see your hand up.
Yes, Waithaka, there's one question that we missed from Roy Waceke, who was asking, how often should you make calls or check up on employees working remotely so that we don't get to a point of micromanaging? Great, thank you.
So I think when it comes to checking in, just set the schedule. Like, you know, at 9, we have our status meeting where we discuss this, and there's somebody guiding that status meeting. And then during my status, Juliet, this is what I've done, and this is what I'm planning to do. So if you want to have another status meeting in the evening, then schedule for it. So you can say, we have a status meeting at 9 and a status meeting at maybe 4. So at least the team is clear and I'm able to know what exactly am I reporting on. Wow. And then you can, if it's something that is needed by a client, you can send a text or a WhatsApp or an email. But what I've had in other instances is, people being really, really micromanaged. Like after every hour you call, or you text me, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? So that's the micromanaging I meant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Juliet, I tell you, you need to go through the comments here and even look on the social media. Everyone is appreciating it. In fact, they're even asking, can we get the presentation? Can you share it with us? I mentioned the talk will be available on our social media, but I think we can also share the notes. Do you mind if we do?
Yes, I'll share the notes, definitely.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much. If you appreciate, you can give a thumbs up somewhere on this area, or a like on social media. That will let us know that you have, just like everybody else who's commenting, we can really see that that you have appreciated what has gone on. Juliet, I've learned so much, and your responses have been concise and clear, and for that we are grateful. Oh my goodness, guys, you're in for one more speaker. And sorry, did you want to say something, Juliet?
No. I appreciate. I'm talking to fellow colleagues, so I'm happy they appreciate the session. And thank you, Centonomy. This was a very good session for us as HR. Nobody recognizes us.
Let me tell you, we always, all the time, I know we are telling about the programs that we offer, but in every session that we hold like this, we want to bring value. And so far, Chris and Juliet, you've brought value to people that I've left here with, empowered to do more than what I've done before. So thank you very much. All right, let's move on. We're almost done, guys. One more speaker, and then we shall be able to get back to the work that we are being called to. Although this is actually part of our work, building ourselves so that we can build others is an important part of our work. I wanted to let you know a little bit about the programs that we run. We told you about personal finance, but we also have a program called the Staff Accelerator. We've realized that soft skills are key to your team progressing and being effective in what they're doing. You know, that organizational culture, managing the relationships that we're talking about here, And then as the individual beginning to understand that each person is a brand and they're building their personal brand, as they do so, they're adding value to the organization as well. These are key areas, especially that each staff member requires to begin to think about as an individual. And so we've realized this, that these soft skills are key. How do you begin to build your social capital? Because if you looked at the presentation that Juliet just showed, trust becomes an issue. And trust is a factor of social capital. Did you call? One of the things I really appreciate about working at Centonomy, and especially working under such a wonderful leader as Waceke, our founder, is that this lady calls. She doesn't wait. She doesn't, whoever it is in the organization, if somebody is in need, she will give you a personal call. Myself, when things are going tough in the organization, I'll receive a call from Waceke, and she'll just say, Waithaka, how are you? How are you doing? Are you okay? What's happening on the family side? Are you able to handle that? How can we help? And it's helping me to do the same for my team members. Are we able to build that social capital that will build trust across the board? And this is some of the skill sets that we're able to help even as we build and as we grow. So as we mentioned earlier, these are on offer in terms of the talks. We do 2 hours, half-day trainings, full-day trainings to help those things come together. Even as you think about your team building activities, it can't just always be jumping outside. We need to delve deeper into some of the issues that we're dealing with as organizations. So the kind of webinars that we're going through right now, we can do internally as well to help your teams build, grow, and thrive. So there's a personal financial management, there's a staff accelerator that we've just talked about, those soft skills that help build a team that will thrive. We've also got training, and I know this is key, thriving beyond transition. Remember the discussion about over-communicate? In a session like that, you're able to communicate the shifts that are going to come through when, for instance, retrenchment happens, and it happens sometimes. What are you going to do? Can you empower your team members to be able to work through and thrive even in that transition? We've also recognized that a major area, especially for older organizations where they have staff members who are retiring, that retirement training is key. We started doing this specifically last year, and the results have been outstanding, especially because for a long time, people have been working with a monthly income, but for the first time, they are managing lump sum amounts. How do you manage a lump sum amount? Just to give you an example, we did a training for a local bank recently where they were doing a golden handshake, essentially just letting people who are nearing retirement take their funds and go home. And they were shocked because one employee who had been working with them for over 20 years, they received a lump sum that they had never seen before in their lives. So their first action was, we have never had a chance to go on holiday. They put their family on a plane and went on holiday, and 1 million shillings, which is about what, $10,000, on one trip to Dubai. This is the money that is supposed to take this person for the rest of their life, and they did it. They blew a whole $10,000 of it on a holiday. So we were called in quickly afterwards to sit these people down and just begin to break down, how do you manage these funds so that it takes you a bit further? And then also we talk a little bit about investment group training. So these are all offered online, and if required in certain occurrences, we can do it in person with the COVID regulations in place. We are here to empower your staff members to thrive. Now, it is such an honor to have our next speaker up. She's the founder, she's an author, she's the founder of Centronomy, she's an author, she's an entrepreneurial coach. She is, I would say, a leadership coach in our organization. We began to see that happening more and more even as the organization grows. Our founder, Waceke and Nduati. Waceke, if you're around, I'd like you to kindly switch on your camera and we can see as we go forward.
Okay. Yeah. Hi.
There. How are you doing? Good to see you.
Good.
Have you been taking notes like me?
Amazing. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you so much, Juliet. I've just been here learning so much and learning also a lot from the questions that have been asked.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we go ahead, Sheke. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Waithaka.
No, I was just saying, this idea of an empowered staff, we've seen it over and over again, have a positive result on the outcomes of the organization. There is a link between the two. And so if your staff members don't feel empowered to ask questions, to offer suggestions, to give solutions, that's why we're moving backward. So I want to hear from you, because you do it for us. Let's do it for others.
Okay, this is an interesting talk for me. First of all, good morning, everybody. I think it's still morning from wherever you are. Those who have joined us on Zoom, but those who are on the various social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, welcome. And I'm really delighted to be here to talk about people, because that's what we can call it HR, we can call it talent management, we can call it all these sorts of words, but it's really, really about people. And the only way to approach a people discussion is to talk about myself as a person. So I'm not in this as a HR expert. So as Waithaka said, I am the founder of Centonomy, but I always say I'm a student of life. I have authored a book based on life. My whole journey I've been leading Centronomy now for 12 years. And it is just life. And as I always say, I think God has put me on earth so my message can become message and I can listen here to other people. So I'm just really here to really talk about my experience on what I learned empowerment means. So 12 years ago, actually 14 years ago, I was working at a bank and I decided, let me go into business. And for a long time, people asked me, why did you want to go into business? Why did you want to go into business? And to be quite clear, the first business I started, I was not necessarily passionate about. It was simply the area that I knew because that was my job. So I was in the stockbroking industry and I was like, hey, I'm out of here. I want to go into business and I know stocks. So let me go and become a stockbroking agent. But later, when I asked, why did you go into business? Why did you go into business? As I said, that first business was not about passion. And the honest truth is I felt I was living dead. And whenever I'm teaching and I'm asking people, do you feel living dead? I'm telling you, all of you HR guys, the number of people who put up their hand and said, yes, at work, I feel living dead. I am here to start a business because I'm living dead. I want to make a career change because I'm living dead. And that's fundamentally not the right decision. Like I learned the hard way, as much as the business did come with very valuable lessons, I learned the hard way that that's not primarily the reason to make that jump. And so first, even before we start talking about an empowered team, we must start understanding, are we creating environments that are living dead? So you have robots at their workplace, yeah? And the symptoms of living dead people, and I'm talking about this from a very personal perspective, you show up only because you're being paid. Money is important, but the minute you have people who only show up because of a paycheck, you have a ticking time bomb on your hands. I used to go to work every day to just get by unnoticed, do what is needed. So it's not enough to get into trouble, but no, did I really put my heart out there? No. And why? Because when I tried to put my hand up, I was shut down. I was told I don't have the right title and I have to go through the 10 layers of the chain of command to get my voice heard, yeah? And so what happens with living dead people? You've just lost the motivation to take initiative. Now, a living dead person leaves their office on Friday. This is what they talk about. Oh, finally, I get to live my life. So between Monday and Friday is just appearing on the graveside to pretend, yeah? But Friday to Sunday is the day we really live it up. And then on Sunday evening, afternoon to evening, a great cloud of depression covers us because we are going back to living dead, yeah? And before we even talk about empowerment, we have to look at ourselves honestly and ask, have we created environments and layers that people are literally living dead? And then when it comes to money, that is why if I'm feeling so suppressed and frustrated between Monday and Friday, once Friday night reaches, that is why I'm going to spend 50,000 shillings in the bar, which is then going to come back and I'll make it your problem. I'll go to the HR manager and say, loan sharks are going to come today. Please give me a salary advance. And I guess why we are doing this and why we have the combination of the two products today, because you can't do one without another. If you don't fundamentally tackle the sense of fulfillment that every human being needs, it does not matter how much money you pay them. We have seen in our Centonomy classes that people, and we ask this picture, are you earning more than you were 5 years ago? And the answer to a lot of people is yes. And we're like, are you happier? No. Are you wealthier when you truly understand what wealth is? No. So it's because of that cycle. And then you can imagine how they take that and it goes back into the home where, because I'm living dead, I'm going to take my frustrations out on people. Now, I'm not telling you, HR, you're out to solve every human being's problem, but I just want to tell you, if we don't pay attention to that foundation, it doesn't matter how much money we throw at people. It doesn't matter how much team building events that we throw at people. It doesn't matter how much flexi time we throw at people. Yeah, we've got to fundamentally address this. So what we want to build going forward, and I think when we've gone through a pandemic, and I love what Juliet was saying about the change in the work environment and how, I think what we are saying is, can we take we shouldn't waste a pandemic. That's what I think, and say what fundamentally needs to shift. Yeah, why were people so much happier working from home? And I know we're not in traffic and that. So did we create environments where people felt, if I don't leave the office before, I have to wait for the boss to leave the office, and I leave the office, and that way I'll be considered to be working harder. I'm sitting at my desk. I'm one of those people who, honestly, I do the work in 3 hours. So the rest of the time I'm playing solitaire. And then when someone comes to my desk, I pretend that I'm doing something. So we don't stay. Let's first of all accept that our role, whether you call yourself HR, it's such a fundamental role. And your role is, can we create cultures where people come alive? Yeah. And we've been so scared of creating those cultures because there are all these fears of people come alive. So and so will take my position. They'll feel they're bigger than me. They'll go and work for other things, other people. And that's why I want to address, because I don't understand where we thought fear is a motivating factor. Suppression is a motivating factor. And then we wonder, why is there so much mental illness going along? So it's a culture where, and I'm talking to you, I know your position is HR, but I'm also talking to you as an individual. You may be in that role feeling the exact same thing I'm talking about, yeah? So it's a culture where you come alive. It's an environment where you come alive, yeah? So I want to now switch to the other side. So I went from this living dead employee to now somebody, I went over to the other side to somebody who, this same thing that played a big role in frustrating me out of an organization, now I'm on the other side and I have to take responsibility for not creating the environment that I came from. And my first business, one of the fundamental mistakes I did, because I did not know any better, I created the exact same environment because I had not accepted that's what frustrated me out. I was like, no, I've always wanted to go into business, blah, blah, blah. So my first business, it was about a year later, I was like, honestly, I've come to create the same thing that got me out. I'm here asking people, why weren't you in the office at 8:30? Then I'm like, oh no, sorry, whose voice is that? My old boss, yeah? So I'm like, whose script am I actually? So I didn't even have the time to say what script is different. And I think this is the time that being after the pandemic, we get a chance before we say we're going back to the norm. Let's first see what is going to be the different script, because I went and created the same exact environment. And it took me about a year and a half, failure, brokenness, being so broke that I don't have gas to put in my car, to understand, oh my goodness, I was going down another road where I've created an environment that I don't like and people don't like in the name of I have to be the boss. Because what I had seen a boss operate is somebody who micromanages, somebody who pulls their weight around. A boss to me was never somebody who says, team, I don't know what I'm doing, help me. That was never my idea of a leader. So what I have learned, this is what I have learned. First of all, I love that both Juliet and Chris, that we have all emphasized this. And I promise we did not meet to talk about what we're talking about. Everybody is a person. Everybody here is working for some people here are business owners. There's an organization of some sort. Remove the word organizations and replace it with community. Yeah. So if you're in a business, it's a community. So in Centronomy, we're a community of 22 people. And then if I add the trainers, probably another 55 people. If I add my suppliers, we're talking another 70 people. Yeah. So it's a community. You're just saying your family is a community. So if you're here representing a business of 5, you're a community. If you're here representing a business of whatever, it's a community. There is no business that does business with another business. That does not exist. People in a community have relationships, some of them transactional, which we call business, yeah, and solve problems for people in another community. People in a business do business with people in another business. Your customer is a business. So the person who comes in every day, no matter how they're showing up, whether it's Zoom or live, is a person, yeah? So because they are a person, if you think about community, everyone, when you say they come from this community, people describe their community with so many different things. The organization that you work for, who are you? And don't tell me we are XYZ, we are Centonomy. Remove the label of the company, because I find what has strangled creating healthy cultures is we are so caught up. And I've been in front of companies where we are pitching for work, and people have told me, you should be so grateful to get this assignment because you would be working for so and so. Yeah. And I've reached points where I've told people, there is the door. Me, I know my value, there is the door. Yeah. So we've got to say, by the way, when I remove the name, when I remove where our office is located, when I remove the fact that we're in Nairobi, Kigali, Kampala, who are we? Who are we? Waithaka, let me throw this at Waithaka. And I did not prepare him. So, Waithaka, who do you work for without saying the name Centonomy? Who do you work for?
I work with an amazing group of people, our family, who are passionate about helping other people find their passion. That's who I work with. You should see our team. You should see them here.
Yeah, and then they are all here. They are all here. I can, if we had time, I'd throw each and every one of them under the bus for this same question. Yeah. So what Waithaka said, I have not coached him on that, but can you describe the organization you work for, or the organization you are so spending your time every day trying to get people to understand why they should be in that organization and why they should give their best to the organization? First of all, have they understood it that way? Who are you? Are you a family? What do you do? And we've done so many trainings that even when we do some of our classes, we ask people, what's the vision? There's a class, we have an entrepreneurship class where we teach about vision, and we're like, the organization you work for, what's their vision? People are like, I've been employed here for 10 years. I cannot tell you what the vision is and what the mission is, because we put all these fancy words to be the leading blah, blah, blah in sub-Saharan Africa in 40 years, whatever, does not relate to people at all. People want to know, what am I a part of? Yeah, then I can tell. So you're here thinking money is the issue. It's that. What would connect me? Like Waithaka said, we're passionate about empowering people. So even when we are coming in, even when we are saying, that's what we don't want to go away. Even when we are recruiting, we are like, are you passionate? Do you believe what we believe? I am not out to hire everybody. I am not out to work for everybody. I am out to work with people who believe what I believe, and then they cease to be employees. They are a team, and we are destiny helpers to each other because we have bought into that. And I think the new direction, what COVID has shown us, is that is the way. When you speak to people now and engage them, especially this group we call millennials, and they say, why do you want to work? People are like, oh, millennials are so difficult. Let me tell you, when people say millennials are difficult, I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, because I'm sorry, I don't have that problem. Because millennials are not difficult, but they want connection to a bigger purpose. That big vision and a nice desk and a laptop is not going to cut it for them. Yeah. What's my connection to a bigger purpose? So somehow in their lives, they learned something that us guys in our generation took so long and so many mistakes to learn, that it is not about going there to toil. It's about how do I contribute to this purpose? So who are you? Go back and ask yourselves, who are you? Forget the consultant. This is not, let's get a consultant to tell us who we are. No, just you're the guys who work there, and ask yourselves, who are you? So the first place you should get people in a hotel to answer that is, who are we? Let's just talk about that. Yeah. So second thing, so that was my first point. Who are you? Who are you? Second thing, yeah. At I've learned, everybody is a somebody, and they want to be seen. Yeah. even when you drive into a building, and I drive into a couple of buildings where now I know the watchman by name, and I say, hi, James, you can see the difference. Rather than when you say, boss, parking iko wapi? No. Yeah, the difference. He doesn't want to be known as the guy who sorts out the parking. He wants, first of all, to be known as James. Hi, James. How are your kids? Then we can talk about the parking, yeah? So we've got to start acknowledging people. So good morning, how are you? How are your kids? Those things we think are not, they are important, yeah? And same story of our watchman. And let me tell you how it's important is and what it does to people when they are acknowledged. One of my first employees, I couldn't even afford to have him on full-time, was a guy called Amos. Amos was the watchman. And again, we started this conversation. Who are you? He tells me about his kids. And then Amos started, we were in an office where were a lot of small businesses where we won this compound with many small offices. And he started telling me about his family, his kids. Then shortly, Amos started washing my car when I come to the office without me saying anything. The car comes, he's there with a bucket, whatever. And he used to do it for me and my brother, who was also in that office at that time. So we are like, hey, let's give Amos an opportunity. Can you see? And I also hope the people who are employed are hearing this, yeah? Just by him doing that, but even for an employer, me seeing him as a person, what it brought out in him. Because sometimes people just need to be seen. And I think for those of us who are in leadership positions, they feel so intimidated. You have the big title, so you are in the best position to do this. They can't come in, the watchman is not gonna come and throw themselves on your face. The teller in the bank is not gonna come and throw themselves in the face. But then Amos started, we now got Amos and said, let him be our combined messenger. And to cut a long story short, we sponsored him into Centonomy. Amos went on to start a business where he owns taxis, which bring him income, and he became the first in his family to own property. It started by, we saw Amos. That's why I can talk to him as Amos, not the watchman who was in the office building where I used to work, yeah? Now translate that into your organization and just start seeing, what if you actually saw people? Because one of the things people get frustrated in is like, I was not seen. And I'm not here to tell you I've been perfect. I have made these mistakes. So these lessons are also from mistakes that I have made. So there's so many different ways to recognize people and let people know they're seen. And we always jump to money, but it's small things. Let me take you for lunch, yeah? And let's talk. Let's go for lunch out of the office. We in the Centronomy started this thing of giving people sport awards. So let's say we can't financially compensate you for the work that you do, but here's a sport. Go buy yourself a dress, go buy yourself something, or you and your girlfriend or boyfriend or wife go out for dinner. A sport reward, just to say, oh my goodness, they recognized I went out of my way, yeah? But as I said, it's not just on the employer. The onus is you as an employee, if you're here, to also put up your hand, because I know you can't see everybody all the time. Okay. Third, everybody wants to contribute. It is a fundamental human need to want to contribute, yeah? And how I know this is we have a program for Campus Edition, and we have this amazing group of young people called, what we call Campus Edition ambassadors. They don't do what they do for money, but when we're having events, when we need people to fill in for class, when we're having any sort of thing, they will be there. They're not financially compensated, but that shows you how people want to contribute. Now, I believe that the fundamental mistake many organizations made when it came to COVID was immediately going to cutting jobs. Yeah, immediately. So I'm not saying it was, for some, it was unavoidable. For some, salary cuts were unavoidable. For some, that's all okay. Yeah. But could there have been another way? Could there have been because a lot of people I talked to felt that I am so irrelevant to this company that when there was a problem, the first thing they did was cut me off. Instead of saying, could we have done this another way, guys, where we say, and if this decision is facing you now, maybe you're the one to take this message back. This is our problem. Remember, we are a community. Whether we have ever defined ourselves like that or not, we are a community. So the problem is maybe we were a dysfunctional community, but the fact that you're a community is given. How about bringing people together and saying, this is our problem. Ideas on how we can collectively all save our jobs? Because you're sitting with these minds in a room. Yeah. Every mind has a unique gift and a unique potential. And I think for some of those minds, that was the opportunity they needed. So let me tell you about a young man called Michael Dhodho, who's our head of programs at Centonomy. On Sunday night, Uhuru Kenyatta, for those who are from out of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta is our president, made the announcement, schools are closed, nobody's going everywhere, we're locking down, people are not gathering, etc. And for a business like ours, that was up to that point, 100% on physical training, where on Tuesday morning, we had, 40 to 50 people going to come inside a class, expecting to run a class. It was like deer in headlights. What are we going to do? And I remember calling Waithaka, and he's like, "You've had?" He's like, "I've had." And he's like, "Okay, we just meet tomorrow." So that was it. Okay, it was just meet tomorrow. I went and poured myself a good 2 or 3 glasses of red wine that evening, because I was like, what are we going to do? But this is the thing. Nowhere did it cross my mind that I was going to fire people. Me, I'd even decided, yeah, if I can't pay you, I can't pay you. I'll just tell you I can't pay you. What does that have to do with me firing you? And it will be your decision. The way my vision stands, the pandemic has not changed my vision. For my vision, you were required. Your passion was required. Your skill set was required. So what am I doing firing you? If there's no money in the bank, we will deal with no money in the bank, yeah? But that's a different discussion. And the companies that thought that way came with so many creative things. I know some salons where they just gave food baskets to their hairdressers and said, we can't pay, but here's a food basket or food voucher for the next 3 months. And those salons right now are thriving. Because once people felt that even in times of trouble, you did not simply discard me. So back to Michael. On Monday, I go. Me, I'm like clueless about what we'll do. Michael has organized somebody to train us on Zoom. Okay? So we're in a room. Me, the first time I was using Zoom, being put through training Zoom. And after that, there was a flurry of activity because now people had been delegated things to do, classes. We have 40 people who have to come. We have to train. But then for Zoom, we really did a lot training people for Zoom. We had to train them on Zoom. But Tuesday, 9 o'clock, even if it was not perfect, but we had people in class and we have not stopped running classes. Yeah. So we had, guys, when we have problems, and I remember telling my team this a while ago, a talk I gave a while ago, let's not roll over and die. That's the mistake I think a lot of organizations did. First, I'm not saying some of those decisions sometimes are not necessary, but the first reaction should not be that. Give people a chance to contribute and you will be surprised. In our staff accelerator program, we've had people who come and they go back to the organization and say, I'm changing the organizational chart for you. Here it is. And they get promoted. People just need an opportunity. And that opportunity comes through in times of trouble. Okay. Point number 4. Everybody has aspirations. And I remember feeling so frustrated in my employment when I was employed is because I was treated like your job is to come to work, but I was not treated as a human being who has a life, who has family, who has things. And I think, Juliet, and you were talking about boundaries. So boundaries were crossed. You are calling me at 10 p.m. on a Friday because a share has dropped. What am I supposed to do on Friday? And a client is annoyed. And they never set those boundaries for us. But everybody is a person. They have a life beyond work, yeah? And they have aspirations, yeah? And I'm happy when I see people meeting their personal aspirations. So let me tell you about a lady called Wendy. Wendy comes one day, she joins us, she sits in Centonomy, she learns financial planning. And then one day she comes and says she's taking leave and she's going to 10 countries in Europe. All of us, our jaws dropped. I was like, me, I've never thought about going to 10 countries at once in Europe, yeah? So she goes on this vacation and she comes back and she's been to all these countries and have all those experiences. It was a proud moment for me as a leader, because when I can see you're even achieving things beyond me, I am happy. So even as leaders, let's catch our egos and let's catch our sense of pride when we try to keep people down because we don't want them to rise above you. Yeah. So she came and said, my goodness. Yeah. I was like, she's gone to Europe. I've never even thought about that. Yeah. And I believe that when people link personal goals and in some way directly or indirectly, their place of work enabled that. Yeah. So for Wendy, it was financial planning. It was even just the free time. Nobody interrupted her leave. We didn't call her back and say, come back. Yeah. It creates a bond. And I'm not saying that bond is there for you to tie people down when it is their time to leave. It's not. But it creates a sense of pride for me as like, apart from Wendy, who does a fantastic job with this staff accelerator program that you've been talked about today. It's a proud moment when I can see, oh my goodness, my baby is walking. I feel like my baby has walked. Yeah, she's not even walking, she's flying, and she's flying faster than you. And the organizations, how much more powerful? I know we always have those organizational awards. So-and-so achieved the top sales. So-and-so was the best leader. So-and-so did this at their project. So-and-so hit their revenue targets. And those are important. But what would it do for people when you also showcase personal achievements? That while so-and-so was working here, they went on a Euro tour. When so-and-so was working here, they became a landlord. When so-and-so was doing this, they became, and I'm so proud that people in Centonomy have their landlords, yeah? They're wealthier than, a lot of people, they're wealthier than me. They are business people, they're selling products. Sometimes you can think Centronomy is a bit of a marketplace, yeah? They're doing photography. They're just doing so many phenomenal things. Even sometimes it's just the way they say, this is what I'm being able to do with my kids or raise my kids, yeah? How powerful would it be that we just don't showcase, because people, this is human beings. Human beings, we want to hear stories, not just about the work. We don't want to feel that if I didn't hit sales target, it means my value is zero. But we can appreciate that you went on a Euro tour that is motivating everybody else who has never thought they could do that to actually understand, my goodness, it is possible. And might I say, it's with also what Centonomy taught her about financial planning, which we want to teach you and your team as well. I have learned, number 5, everybody has bad days, and we've got to stop treating people that it's wrong to have a bad day. Which human being can operate at 100% of the time? It is impossible, yeah? I have had days, and I talk about it publicly, where I'm like, I can't get out of bed in the morning. I've had days where I dress, I enter my car, then I'm like, I can't. I wear my pajamas, I go back, I close the curtains, and I'm like, I can't today, yeah? So I've learned it's, we've got to accept people have bad days, and that should not become their entire identity, yeah? Because we are so good to, someone does 9 things correct, but the minute they do 1 thing wrong, that becomes their entire identity. So somebody, Michael in an organization has done 9 things right. He has brought in customers, he has hit sales target, he's a good team leader. Then one day Michael goes and drops in a pitch, he's completely incoherent. For whatever reason, you don't know what fight happened in his house in that morning, yeah? It becomes that. That is what shows up on his performance report. We forget about all the other 4 good things, yeah? And what that does to people, it creates a sense of fear. They don't want to, because everybody inherently knows they cannot be 100% perfect all the time. But if you create that environment where people are punished so badly for the 1 thing that they did, they're never going to put up their hand to say, this is the solution. And I have made that mistake. I have made that mistake, yeah? But I've learned, don't punish. I'm not saying the day Michael was incoherent in his presentation, don't address the problem. Address the problem, but let it not form his entire identity. And for the Michaels who are whatever here, even when that happens, you also go back home and say, yes, I messed up on this 1 thing. It doesn't mean I am a failure, or I will amount to nothing good, because those are the messages we give ourselves. And then it's sad when we're also in an environment that is enforcing those messages. If all my bad days had been used against me, we would not be here. Yeah. So I have learned to just say, not today. I've learned to say, I can't do it today. I have learned sometimes even to say, hey, I'm supposed to be doing this, but can you just go for me? I'm just off today. And we need to have that environment where we tell people it's okay to be off. Okay, if you're off 6 months in a year, then that's a deeper problem, but people are going to have bad days. And lastly, yeah, before I just tell you how money fits into all of this, everybody wants connection to a bigger purpose. So I teach in the classes that there's life, there's survival, there's success, and then there's significance. Let me repeat that. Survival, success, and significance. Survival is getting by. Survival is doing the day-to-day things, yeah? And we all start at survival, and survival can be okay for a while, yeah? But then we want success. We want to be comfortable, yeah? We just don't want to be getting by. We want to be doing a bit more than being comfortable. And then lastly, we want significance, yeah? So in an organization, do you want people who are on survival? Do you want people who are on success? Do you want people who are on significance, yeah? Survival, again, someone who's on, let me now bring it to the context of money, day to day, paycheck to paycheck. Research shows that people are one paycheck away from poverty. They are one paycheck away from being thrown out on the streets. And we saw this during COVID, one paycheck away from a financial disaster, one paycheck away from not being able to pay school fees, yeah. And why we are bringing you and telling you as an organization, this is the role you can play, is because as an organization, you don't want people who are just simply on survival. That is a ticking time bomb, as I said, and that frustration will be bottled up and it will come back to you. And then there's success, which is comfortable, and that's good. But still, if you don't move people to the next level, comfortable means, okay, I buy this car today, then, oh, my friend has a bigger car, let me buy a bigger car, a bigger car, bigger car. A lifestyle that is a rat race that will get you back into survival, yeah? So we want to always go to the next level, which is, I believe, the level all human beings were created for, which is significance. So and as an organization, you want to play in that significance, and that's why we are here. So the first things I was talking about were largely about the mindset and the culture and the environment, which is what we address in staff acceleration on an individual level. And especially if you as the HR are sitting in the same program, you can start seeing what other things we need to create to empower people. Sometimes we've trained people where they tell us, I love what you're saying about investments, but my contract says that we are not allowed to have any other income generating activity outside my place of work. That is archaic. Yeah, that is not possible, because as an employer, you also don't want to be completely and 100% responsible for people's financial lives. Otherwise, you will get frustrated because what you can never pay enough. Money from you as a salary will never be enough. Yeah. So we've got to change things. So you don't want people bringing financial issues to work. Yeah. You don't want the financial security to be on you, yeah? We don't want to misread people's growth or people meeting their aspirations as automatically, or that means they will leave. We've got to embrace seasons of life for people. Sometimes this will be your season, and sometimes people leave not because of what you think, but you didn't give them significance. You didn't give them impact. You want a culture where people move up together. You see, if my colleague went on Euro tour vacation, if my colleague has started farming, aren't those the conversations you want discussed at lunchtime? What you don't want is a poverty support group conversation happening at lunchtime, because poverty support group is all about blaming the employer for how they are not paying you enough. You want the conversations where people are listening to Wendy, how she saved and went on Euro tour, and then they stop blaming you. So in this community, when you empower people, you're also causing a shift in the conversations and hence the thinking, the collective thinking of people. And as I said before, you really don't want that poverty mentality, and you don't want where you have created this environment where people are speeding down the highway of poverty, but in a luxury vehicle, where they are successful. But again, that success is becoming a trap in itself. And the day, fast forward to retirement or fast forward to job losses like we saw, the day that income is not there, they cannot sustain their way of life. So to wrap up, I know my time is over. I just want to give a quote from my book. I wrote a book called Making Sense, and we'll put it on the chat as to how you can get the book. Money is a tool for life, but it is not the life. And I say this because money was never meant to be the master. Yeah. So I think the primary shift we have to make as organizations is let's create in the workplace a different way where we understand money is important. It is absolutely important, but we are not making it the be all and end all of everything. We are not making it the day it's not there, we immediately destroy human lives. Yeah. We are not making it saying that the only way we'll reward you is through money. So we're going to appreciate the life you have and empower you as the individual to design that life. For the individual here, it is you starting to design that life. And then what's money's place? It is one of the tools that can be used for this. Yeah. So what we're doing here with the two programs is first creating that mindset where people are like, oh, this is who I am. This is what I can bring to the table. And then best case, this is the organization that I can bring that to the table. And then at the same time, because why organizations can't afford to neglect money, it's like telling your child, your primary job is not manufacturing the food, but you're the one who brings the food home. But one day your child says, I'm hungry. Then you say, it's not my responsibility. No, you can't detach yourself from that. Since you are going to be the primary source and one of the most significant sources of income for that person who works there, you cannot tell your child, I'm sorry, you're hungry, goodbye. Yeah. You have to play a part because that money primarily comes from you in helping them use that money to facilitate that life that comes from a value-driven place for them. Because then it comes back to you as a authentic, whole, creative, problem solver, fulfilled human being whose productivity will only just improve, but you also get to feel so proud, so proud that you have empowered somebody not just to earn a living, but to earn a life. Thank you.
Wow. You guys, I think now you understand why I work for this organization called Centonomy. It was a no-brainer when that happened. But second, we have to deal with this because it's come up a couple of times. This issue of dealing with fear, because many decisions that leaders in organizations are making are built on fear.
Yeah.
They're driven by fear. How do we help these people to break that cycle so that we can get out of that? It's come up a couple of times here.
Well, if you're here, let me just tell you, if one of our classes is, in fact, two of our classes, even we actually do it as a bonus session, we actually have a whole 3-hour session on fear because we understand how deep it is. And it's beyond. And I'm so glad you brought it up because this is another point. All of you HR, you are scared. Is anybody here who does not have fear in your life? I have fear. So if you are scared, people are scared. But this is what happens for those of you who are leaders. People are looking at you and they're wondering what's wrong with me because you as a leader seem to be fearless, focused, committed, driven with it all the time. So when I come with my fears, I'm the one, something is wrong with me. So the first thing I think is about leaders being so open with what they are also insecure about. Me, I'm scared we're not going to make it. Me, I'm scared. Me, I've learned the hard way that honesty is the best policy. And there's a time I came and told my team, I don't know the answer. And when I said that, solutions started coming up. But we all have individual fears, Waithaka, because they're coming from so many different areas. A lot of our fears are coming from maybe things we experienced in our childhood. So there's so many levels. Some are coming from my fears of my first workplace. I really haven't dealt with it. So I'm coming here with the same script. Someone is coming because, a teacher said something to them and they keep rewriting that. Yeah. So fear is something, leave all this. We do so much training on sales, marketing, how to make more money for us kind of training, but we've got to start saying this is blocking people. And there are some people who should get that promotion, but that fear is blocking them because they have a woman cannot rise above a certain whatever. So we have all this. So what I just say is, first of all, understand everybody is dealing with fear. And I've learned as a leader that when I talk about my own fears, people are open enough to say their own fears. Why people are not open, usually hiding their fears is because what will other people think of me? And today Waithaka was talking about the deep dives. And one of the deep dives we can also do with your team is just come and do a session on fear because it does form a large part of our courses. We do have a class that is specifically on fear, where people get to go back. Where did this fear come from? How is it stopping me? What can I do? And we even work with life coaches to address this, because we understand it's deeper issues. How has it been manifesting in our lives? Because what happens is our fears become the story we tell ourselves, and it becomes our patterns. Yeah. My fear about what we've learned with money, my fear about not having money, I tell myself I never want to look like I don't have money. So what do, I keep buying things too, so that other people can see I have money. And it doesn't matter how much you pay me, because I'm in that cycle. But if you're here as a leader, first acknowledge that it's okay to be afraid. Acknowledge that even me, I have had fears in this and this area. People start opening up, but to do this properly, I'd recommend you give us a deep dive session where we can come and actually tackle the subject of fear, and especially its relation to money with your teams.
Sorry, and you see it over and over again in all these discussions, that coming up and how we can begin to overcome it. Many problems are not being dealt with because of that factor of fear. So it's in the background, it's somewhere hiding, and we have not yet exposed it so that we can deal with it. And that's really powerful. Felix had a question. Felix Simiyu, I see you there. I want you to ask the question yourself. This one on being familiar with, you can switch on your mic, Felix Simiyu, if you're there. Hi, this about familiarity with your team. Can you ask your question about that familiarity issue?
Hi, thank you, Waithaka. Waceke, my question is, you've really talked to us how to touch people's life and see them as important people. And that involves you being close to them and you being in their lives every day. So how do you do that and avoid familiarity, being familiar with them in such a way that respect is thrown out of the window?
Okay, I think Felix, that's an excellent question. I think it's about boundaries. So as much as you're dealing with people, you care about people, you're not crossing, it's not about allowing people to cross over your boundaries. So you set your boundaries correctly. So first of all, even within an organization, there's boundaries about how anybody can talk to anybody else. So the boundaries are not just about you. So start saying, these are the boundaries. People cannot talk to me like this. I think before Juliet mentioned some of those boundaries where you start making it clear, beyond this time, you don't call me. So the fact that you're a leader and you care about people does not mean that they can become disrespectful of you. And I have been in positions where I've had to correct people. So if somebody goes wrong, correct it from the word go. One thing is I don't let things fester. So if I feel somebody has crossed the line, I will speak to them. And sometimes I will speak to them very firmly, not abusing them, but I will be, hey, here you, this was a mistake. I never want to see this again. And if they keep doing it, there are consequences, which could also lead to termination. And there are people that has happened because they have kept crossing the line. So caring about people does not mean you disrespect them. But what I also have learned, you get what you give. So if I respect you, you tend to respect me. If I respect your boundaries, you will also respect. So as a leader, I think what falls on us sometimes is to set the examples, but you are also there to correct. So I'd say open up the lines of communication with people. Start a place where people know you care about them, but the minute someone crosses that line, be quick to correct them. And if they keep doing it, it is now starting to show something about that person's character that you need to address with more serious consequences. Yeah.
Last quick question, Waceke. What about those who are passionate about about the work that they are doing, but bureaucracy, politics in the office just drains that passion? Agnes is asking.
Well, that is what left me living dead, Agnes, and I exited. So maybe let me answer now, knowing what I know. What would I have done different if I had realized? You see, what I didn't have when I left was I hadn't realized that was fundamentally my issue. It's after years of work, self-work, listening to people, I was like, oh my goodness, I was living dead. Yeah. I would have, now when you say, first of all, be clear. Yeah, because I think sometimes people say, I'm not being valued, But we need to be clear, how is it that you want to be valued? What is it that you're feeling you can contribute more than you have? So before you approach anybody, almost write a proposal to yourself. Yeah. So if you go and see the CEO today, what problem are you solving for him? Because sometimes a lot we say we're not being valued, but we're not crystal clear about how you want to be valued. Now, once you've got that, I wouldn't suggest that you break the lines of, because even the chain of command is a respect. So don't break the chains of command. It's going to work against you. Yeah. Who's the next person that you need to talk to them about? And when you are talking to that person, say, what's the need for them? Be clever about it. So I want to do this project at work. How will I make that person look good so that they support my project? Then the person you're talking to is probably the influencer who will now take that project where it needs to go and invite you in, who will influence the other people. I think you should do it that way. And if all else fails and you honestly don't find that this is the organization that is appreciating that, you're a human being who deserves to grow. You will look for your options. But I would have done that. I'd have been very crystal clear. What do I actually think that they could do? Present it to the right person, but cleverly, in a way that they also look good, but in a way that they also recognize they will need you so that they don't cut you off. Yeah, because I know people also do that. And then take it from there. And then once you've tried, you can say, actually, here I tried, I didn't. And you even have a reason if you do decide to go and do something else and say, listen, I did try to do this here. I am actually going to do it elsewhere. Yeah, but solve a problem first. Solve a problem.
Oops, sorry, Chris was responding there and just saying that, Agnes, the difference between people and trees is that people can move. And sometimes the decisions you need to make. I think we all have a personal responsibility to know what we want and make sure that we have done our best to get that in every opportunity. Waceke, as always, just amazing. If you should see all the comments, I hope you can go through them. On I've been tracking Facebook here, YouTube here, and also here on Zoom. People have appreciated, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you, Waithaka. Thank you, everybody. It's been an honor to be here.
Excellent. So as you heard Waceke mentioning, we also do those deep dives specifically for your organization. So we do have recommended curriculum, which you can learn around, which is your personal finance, which is Staff Accelerator, Thriving Beyond Transition, Retirement, Investment Group Training. All these, we have put them together because sometimes you want a structured growth. But if there's a specific issue that you're dealing with in your organization and you would like assistance with that, we are also able to do that as Centonomy. And so what you need to do is write to Joanne, and her email address is there on the screen, talksense@centonomy.com, talksense@centonomy.com. The number is there as well, +254 79 535 535. The number that you can see there on the screen. Kindly call that number or reach out to Joanne on that email address, talksense@centonomy.com. And we've been able to work with organizations across the continent. So especially now, because with the remote working, use of tools like this, we're able actually to deal with organizations that have multiple hubs, and everyone can be able to come in at the same time. We're able to do that as well, but also to address your specific issue within the organization. We're able to custom make the content to assist you. I know we've been talking, and this came up, I know, in one of the questions. It's not just about preparing for retirement. There was somebody asking about millennials. Let me tell you, when onboarding your team members, financial awareness is key, especially because at that point is when they're beginning their financial journey with you. If you can empower them at that point to begin to make the right choices, they will see how their personal goals and the company goals have aligned. So yes, we do deal with millennials. I saw that there. There was also another question, are we NITA certified? That is the governing body here in Kenya. Yes, we are registered with NITA. And so yes, those points do come across, and you're able to get the certification if you reach out to Joanne as well. But across borders, as you have heard, and I've seen everybody has stuck with us throughout this period of time, this content applies across the board. I want to speak to those organizations that have the power to go even further than that. We've been dealing with some multinationals and also some larger organizations who have just decided and said, it's not just enough for you to come in for 1 hour or 2 hours. Give us the full training programs that you do at Centonomy. And we've been doing that. We'll give you an example. We'll come in and do the Centonomy 101 program, which is a complete program on personal financial management and wealth creation, where for 12 weeks, we come in for 12 weeks, we come in once a week, let's say on a Friday, for 2.5 hours to be with your team members as they build their personal financial plan over their lifetime. That's something that some organizations can do, and we encourage you, if you have that ability, to do so as well. We also have, for instance, the retirement training, which again goes over that period of time. Sorry, I forgot to show you. This is the personal financial management Centonomy 101. How to manage your money, how to invest, and how to protect your money. These are the key factors that go over a period of time, because these are things that you build. And once you've taken your team through them, we began to see quite a change. Last year, we started offering the financial freedom in retirement program. And in fact, 100% of the people who took this class responded and said they felt better prepared for retirement than they did before. And that was a massive shift. They felt now they had been empowered by their organization for that shift in their life. We also do that onboarding training, but the onboarding training can be designed for your organization and for the teams that you have. The prices that you have seen, I saw that question also coming up again. Those prices are not for individuals, they're for groups. And we can also obviously work on giving you a personalized program for your organization and the needs that you have. So Joanne, I know that you've been helping me out as well. Joanne is the one who will be helping you out beyond this point. In case there are any questions or comments I may have missed, I want to make sure that everybody gets the best value from this. So if I missed any questions or comments, kindly just help me out. Trying to manage all these different screens has been interesting. Did I miss anything, Joanne?
No, maybe just, I don't know if you answered this. What if the office politics are not cutting it for an employee, and that HR is spearheading it? I don't know that I understand that question very well, but it came in on our chat, on our question and answer box.
Yes,
yeah,
I can see. Juliet, if you're still in the room, kindly, if you can just switch on your camera, maybe you can help me out with this, because this is now an industry specific issue. Juliet, are you still there? You can just unmute and switch on your camera and assist with this one. I think that was the one question that had not been dealt with. Juliet, are you there? If not, we can always be able to follow up and assist with such queries. Joanne, just ask the question again. Maybe I can give some insight, my personal insight on it.
So it says, what if the office politics are not cutting it for an employee and that HR is spearheading it?
Wow,
I also don't quite get it.
No, I actually get what this person is talking about, because what they're saying is the person you should be going to help you deal with issues is the one who is the problem. And as we've talked about, being empowered as an employee is to know who can help you in that situation. That's number one. And not only that, but how to address individuals. In the Staff Accelerator program, we talk about building social capital. What does that mean? How do you go and deal with someone, build a rapport, build trust with someone to the point at which you can ask them even tough questions, that you can have difficult conversations with them. And so in this case, it is going and trying to see what is their agenda. Because many times when we come to people, we come with problems. And one of the cultural things that we're trying to implement here at Centronomy is don't just come with a problem, come with your idea of a solution. So when you're going to build social capital with somebody on the other side, go to them and try and solve their problems first. Try and be of value to them. And then it builds the trust and builds the relationship that will help you get there. Because that political machination that you're hearing in the background, they're trying to achieve something. Maybe they're fearful, they're trying to protect themselves, they're trying to keep their job, all those various things. Can you help them achieve those goals? And if you can, then it may open up the lines for conversation. That's the first step that we must always go to. And at some point, because some people are just difficult, some point it's to know who can help you in such a situation? Is it your line manager who can probably help you? Or is it somebody else in leadership who can get you to that place who you have built social capital with? All of these programs, as we said, are built to empower your teams to grow. And if they are growing as individuals, they're going to find their way to success. It has been such a pleasure to have you so much. We are so grateful. Chris, thank you so much. Juliet, thank you so much. Waceke, thank you so much for sharing the insights that you have. Joanne, for putting this together. You've done an amazing job. We had people all over the place, 30 people, I think, plus on YouTube, over 30 people on Facebook. And if in case you want to view this again, they'll be available on our social media. And here we had over 140 people in this session. Please don't just take this information and hold on to it. Go and implement it, because that's where the change is going to be. We love you. We are so grateful for your time. Joanne, yes, go ahead.
Just to mention, a couple of people were asking if we will share the tools and the notes. Given that we've been given a go-ahead by Juliet, we will share all the tools. In case you're streaming live from YouTube or Facebook, which means we may not have your email address, please feel free to reach out to us on joanne@centonomy.com so that you can also receive the materials. Also for organizations that have people who are heading towards retirement, but they may not be a big group enough for you to put together a corporate training, they can always jump into our normal sessions that start on 4th of April, which means you have 2 people, just put them into the program. We'll charge them same rate for the individualized program, and then they can just go on for the program. And thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. That's it, Waithaka.
Thank you so much, Joanne. You've done an excellent job. Well done for bringing all these people together. As you heard, you can reach out to joanne@centonomy.com or talksense@centonomy.com. The number is on the screen, +254 795 359 535. Please do build your teams, grow them as you can, and we appreciate you. I'm seeing all the wonderful comments coming through. Yes, Lillian, thank you so much. Carol, Lensa, thank you so much. Lena, we appreciate you. Oh, wow. This is simply amazing. We appreciate your time. It's not just for now. Remember what we talked about at the beginning with Chris. We can't just have the knowledge or the understanding. The wisdom is in the application. I took notes, guys. Have a wonderful day.